Oh. Oh.
It's still 4:59. I'm so sorry.
Hi, Larry. How are you? Sorry. Still getting myself together here. I don't know if you heard me. Hi, Larry. How are you?
Good, Monica. How you doing?
Good.
Great.
All right, well, we have a quorum and it's 5 o'clock, so I'll call the work session to order. Clerk Rowe and Trustee Rowe are not logged in yet, but they did not call and say that they would not be attending. So the first item on the agenda, on the work session agenda, is to review and to complete the budget for 2021. Of course, the budget can always be amended. We will have a new board next year's, and it's not permanent, I guess is my point. The first thing is the Environmental Services Division. We talked a little bit about this before, and the increase in the cost for the waste management services. Thank God we bid it out, because originally it would have been much higher than what it currently is. The 5-year forecast, Giovanna is going to go over that for the members of the audience and the board members and panel, just to go over where we're at financially with the current millage. All the millages expire next year. So it was previously discussed to have like a millage committee to get together and see what they think, how we should go in the future. The current environmental services fund for garbage, recycling, yard waste cannot, it's not sustainable at the current tax rate. So we need to discuss it. It'll take an in-depth conversation to figure out what the new millage will be for next year. With that, Giovanna, could you review the document?
Yeah, so I'm going to share my screen and bring up the document. I did send that to the board a little bit later. I apologize, it was not in the packet. Can everyone hear me okay? I'm using this new headset.
We hear you great.
Okay, all right, wonderful. All right, so what I worked on was a 5-year forecast. We have one that has all the detailed lines, so every line that we have. So what I wanted to do was just look at one page so you can see an overview, and I classified them as tax revenue. Of course, this is one of our millages. Tax revenue, other revenue, which could be interest or insurance rebates or reimbursements that we get from workers' comp or insurance. That's the revenue, and you can see that up there. There's only 2 lines for your revenue. And then our expenditures, I separated them into wages and fringes. Fringes also include retirement pension and OPEB retirement, healthcare. Operational, and then I did one expenditure line for the waste management contractual amount. That's what we have paid and what we future forecast what we'll be paying to waste management. And then any other yard waste, tire disposal, any other miscellaneous ones that don't fit paying into waste management, and then any capital projects. So as it goes through, the first 2 columns, one is 2018 actual, 2019 actual, the budget that we have for 2020, and then the budget we are requesting for 21, and then going from 22 out to 25, that's all forecasting. So as you can see, the bottom line, if you're looking at the net revenues over the expenditures, you can see that it's been going even since 2018. We've been dipping into the fund balance, and you can see the fund balance going down. So really, as of 2022, we'll deplete that fund balance going into 23. I did put on the bottom down here with the green, the contracts, the old contract, what we had, the last one we had with them was from Waste Management, I'm sorry, would be from July 1st, 19 to June 30th of 2020. That's what the rates were for each one of the refuge, recycle, and yard waste. And then there was a period in between June 30th to September 30th that we actually had a small interim contract with them, and that refuse contract went up to $8. The other two, the recycling and the yard waste, stayed the same. So I didn't put that in that column. It's just kind of for you to see. The new contract that we have negotiated with Waste Management, you can see how that runs on the bottom. I just wanted to point that out. Before we did go out to bid, I do want to say, if you'll look at the first one that has the October 1st, 2020 to September 30th, 21, the total on that is $13.05. Before we went out to bid, Waste Management gave us numbers that totaled $13.49. So we were able to, bring that down a little bit with the bidding process that we went through. So if you have any questions, I'd be happy to take them.
Giovanna, we do have one guest that has raised their hand. And Wanda Carr.
Yes. How can I help you? I don't hear anything.
Okay, I'm sorry. It might. Wanda, you're using an older version of Zoom. So if you could call in, that would be helpful, and we'll make sure that we call on you. Are there any questions from board members on this document or panelists?
Madam Chair.
Yes, Larry?
Yeah, Joe, I noticed that in other revenue, up to 21, you got is that just an estimated 4,500 because we had, is that the funds from recycling?
No, it is not. What that is, the other ones, we had some tremendous interest return for 18 and 19 that we are not getting right now. So most of that you see in that other is interest. So
Okay.
the interest it just dropped.
I didn't know what that was. Okay, so
yeah,
all right.
That's basically interest earned on the funds.
Could that also be the essential services reimbursement, Joe, or no?
No, that would be, if that were a case, that would be in tax revenue. That'd be, I'd consider that part of tax revenue if we got anything back for that. No, we were earning quite a bit on our investments, but now, everything since February of 2020, we're just not earning anything on our funds.
And I Madam Chair?
Yes.
I would also ask if the 1105 that started on 9/30/21, is that once a month? Is that every week? Is it, how do they calculate that?
I'm sorry, Larry, what was that question?
1105, we went from 1111 to 1305.
Okay. All right.
Yeah. Is that every pickup or is that once a month?
That's monthly, and it's based on the units. So the unit price I have over there is $15,116. You times that by the amount, that's your monthly fee.
Okay. So we're looking at $34,000 a month for pickup for all of them.
Yes.
Correct?
Yes.
Okay.
We have 15,000 units times 11, Larry. That's your pickup.
What's it? Yeah.
Yeah. That'll be 150 something.
Yes, I was going to say we add a zero on there.
I was thinking 15 times. I was thinking 2 for some reason. But okay.
No problem.
150,
Yeah.
yeah, 160,000 a month.
All right.
Thank you.
Larry, do you have any other questions, Larry?
Yeah.
Okay. Mr. Paul Davis has his hand raised, or their hand raised. Paul?
Yeah. Hi, Brenda. I guess I'm just looking at the numbers and I just had a general question. Well, maybe a couple. Looking at the waste management contract, I guess I'm just curious, the numbers keep going up. I mean, is there any leverage to kind of keep them to, maybe keep them at a certain number or, keep them from going up, every year so much? And I guess my other question is, I'm in the um, Majestic Lakes community. So, I know that there are lots of houses being built in Ypsilanti Township and, new revenue. And I guess, how does that factor into the budget?
Joe Bonna, who's our accountant, Joe, I'm not, if I misspeak, please let me know, but she did a forecasting. You can see the tax revenue. And so she forecasted an increase in revenue based on value. Question about the revenue?
Gotcha. Okay.
And
So basically, are we, is the contract with Waste Management essentially more than we can collect in taxes for it? Yeah, I guess I'm trying to understand how, how the shortages, are happening.
yes. So this is, we have a 5-year millage and that expires next year. So we have to go out for a new millage and we have to have these kind of discussions.
Okay.
The garbage contract or hauling contract went out for bid. It expired and then this next year is when our villages have to be back on the ballot for consideration.
Okay. And when we lock them into a contract, do we keep the price the same for a certain period of time or?
We have a 5-year contract and it's a 4% increase every year. And we bid it out and there was 3 or 4 really good bidders. So it was competitive.
Okay. Okay, yeah, that was my question.
Thank you so much. All right, any other questions on this slide? All right, so Mike Hoffmeister is going to join us. Is Michael online? Yes, hey Mike.
Yes, I am. Good evening, everybody.
Good evening.
So as we look at the environmental services budget, a couple of the major changes that we see are related directly to personnel, fringes, and wages, as Accounting Director Neal mentioned in that overall view that we just took a look at. This new 2021 budget does account for the non-filling of the full-time operator out of the compost center for the chipping services, as well as all related benefits and fringes that come with that individual. So that does reduce our expense substantially to assist with this potential shortage that's coming our way. Additionally, we did have contractual services reclassed. There was a line in the 818000, which we utilized for additional bulk pickup from a separate contractor in 2020 due to a seize in bulk pickup by Waste Management during the COVID window of time. That line no longer exists or will be blanked to zero in the 2021 budget. It was just a kind of a one-time use. So the 2021 budget doesn't have a huge amount of change from 2020. The only differences really is the removal of that full-time individual from the compost center and then the increased expenses that come with the new waste management contract.
Do people have questions regarding? There's one attendee, Mr. Davis.
Yes. I'm sorry, I didn't have a question. Let me lower my hand. I think.
Oh, okay, very well. The panelists, board members, do y'all have any questions of Michael? No? All right, hearing none, we'll move on to the next agenda, which is Recreation 230. And Angela Burgess is on deck, is that correct? Is Angie available, Michael? Unmute her. Angie Burgess. Mike, Angie needs to unmute. I will have to say with the funds that are on the agenda this evening, COVID really affected a lot of them. We don't know what the new normal will be. You know, we'll find out as we hopefully go into 2021 without the pandemic, you know, increasing as much as it has. And I think our area is holding better. Our county is on the rise a little bit. And so who knows what will happen. This is just a very strange year for these funds due to being closed a lot of the time. Is Angie responding to you?
I don't, Madam Supervisor, I don't have the ability to unmute her. I think,
I have tried to unmute her.
okay.
I sent her the unmute request, but
Well, we can. These doggone Zoom meetings, I'm telling you. Would you like us to go on to 14B court until Angie can be unmuted, Michael?
Yeah, that's fine. I'll shoot her a text as well.
Okay, thank you. 14B court, Magistrate Nelson,
Good evening.
good evening.
So as you can see from our budget, our expenditures show a couple of decreases, primarily due to some anticipated retirements of long-term employees that would of course be replaced by newer employees at lower rates. Beyond that, much of our expenditures are the same, similar to the current year of things that were sort of within our control. I mean, you can see retirement has increased. That's a function outside of our control, and as is health insurance. But for the most part, we're trying to hold the budget steady through next year. On the inflow side, as you can see, there's a number of reductions, and those are just merely estimates, best estimates based upon what we've experienced through the last since March through now, and projecting that out to the future for whatever that may hold. You know, if we are back out and about and society's back more to normal, as the supervisor indicated, we may be moving towards, then these numbers may improve. If not, then they may not. But it's all really a function of what's happening with regard to COVID and what society's up to and what law enforcement's up to as far as what inflows we may be experiencing.
You also, the court received the grant.
Yeah, we have two grants right now. I mean, one, we've renewed our drug court grant, and that's been renewed since these numbers were submitted. So we had estimated 146,000 for our drug court grant. That's actually came in at 133,000. So that'll be adjusted. And we also received around a $30,000 grant for some purchases to help improve our delivery of services as a result of COVID. A couple of things we're going to do is essentially make our parking lot into a wireless hotspot, so people that do come into court via Zoom. And for those of you who don't know, virtually everything we're doing on from the court side is on video, just like you're seeing here tonight. All of our vast majority of our hearings anyway are done via video and by Zoom. So recognizing that not everybody has broadband at their home or enough minutes on their phone, we wanted to make sure that we maintain accessibility as best as possible. So along those lines, we're going to make our parking lot extend the county wireless out into the parking lot so people can come here and get online and use their device from the parking lot to attend their hearings. Another element of that will be a portable device that people can utilize from the lobby if they don't have a device of their own. And then we're also looking at some text reminders for people to be reminded to come to court, again, as a function of COVID communication and finding people where they may have been previously is more and more difficult. So we were able to apply through some grant funding through the Michigan State Police and their COVID relief funding to launch these projects. Also pay for a couple of computers for we have our probation staff in particular working from home, and that's worked out quite well. They're able to conduct their communications with their probationers from home, so long as they have the equipment to do it. So the extra laptops we need for that will be paid for by that grant. So just a few examples of where that grant money will go.
All right, excellent. Any other points you'd like to make before we open it up for the panelists and the attendees?
Happy to answer any questions.
All right, thank you. Do we have any questions?
Yeah, Madam Chair,
Treasurer Doe?
if this pandemic continues into much of 21, temporary seasonals, do you see a reason that we would need to have temporary seasonals? I mean, we got 82,000, I think, budgeted 80, yeah.
100?
82,600 budgeted.
That's no, that's the magistrate salary. Temporary seasonal is right below it at 0.
I'm sorry.
That's okay.
Okay, you have taken it out.
Yeah.
I need to get my glasses on. Well, is there any way we can cut? All right, sorry, I was on the wrong line.
That's okay.
But if we do continue at the rate we're going now with the slowdown, is it possible that we can have some temporary layoffs or?
So
I mean,
I've done some checking. You know, our caseload, our average caseload for the last 3 years averages out about 18,000 cases a year. The average judge in the state of Michigan in district court averages about 11,000 cases per year. I'm projecting out this year with COVID, we're going to be coming around 12,000. So we're still going to be an above average court. We operate with 9 employees. The clerks and probation staff come out to about 9 folks. I surveyed a few courts that are of similar size to ours based on caseload, and they're running at anywhere from 13 to 15 clerk and probation staff. So we're really running as close to the bone as we can right now. With 3 people in each department, we really don't have a lot of opportunity to cut any further. In 2008, we had 15 or 16 people in those roles, and we've cut that back from there and never have replaced any of those folks, with the exception of 1 probation officer, which we had to switch out for a grant funded position that went away. So I think right now the way things are going, they're kept very busy. Landlord tenant cases, for example, the way we have to operate those right now, while there's half the cases been filed for landlord tenant cases, the Supreme Court mandated we hold 2 hearings for each case. So while we have half the cases, we're doing twice the hearings. So, and unfortunately the filing fees didn't change. And so the efforts that goes into operating a hearing twice versus once is quite a bit of extra work for the clerk. So, I mean, they're quite busy. While you may not see people lined up coming in our front door, the work is definitely there. I'm always, willing and happy to look at things, but barring the bottom falling out, entirely, right now the staff is quite busy. Continuing to do hearings via Zoom is time consuming on their part as well, where we have to make extra efforts to make contacts, and that the computer systems we have weren't set up for this. So we're making a lot more phone contacts and things of that nature. So, I mean, for right now, unless there's a significant change from where we are, I think the staffing is right.
Well, the only thing I'd say, Mark, through the first 8 months, we've generated just under $1 million. We budgeted just shy of $1.8 million. So we're looking at less, even if we've got 100,000 for the next, we're going to be at 500,000. Luckily, we'll be 500,000 in the hole. Now, that may be because we have less cases and everything. I don't know about the budgeting for 11,000 cases, but obviously we only did 11,000 cases and we're budgeting and we're doing 12,000 now, and we're going to be $500,000 in the hole. We've got to figure out something unless we're going to get some reimbursement from the state. We just can't keep going $500,000 every year in a hole.
I appreciate that. I just don't know how we would work the workload. I mean, the workload is still there regardless of the caseload. You know, we went down the number of cases filed in April. You know, pandemic started mid-March, so looking at April, we dropped 84% in cases filed with the court. And there's everything across the board, whether it's landlord tenant or a traffic ticket, whatever the case may be. In May, we were down 75%. And then we started to rebound a bit. June, July, we're down only 50. And now we're at, for September, we're down 41%. So, you know, we're numbers are moving back up some. I mean, you're right. We're not going to recover this year. I mean, there's just, but that lays bare the shortcomings of the funding of district courts in the state of Michigan. I mean, that's, you know, but as far as the workloads goes, I don't see an opportunity to cut staffing. I mean, like I said, I'm happy to talk about it and look at it some more, but I've done some comparisons with other courts, and I think we're lower in line and lower than other courts are of similar size. And, you know, there's not a lack of work to do, unfortunately. I mean, the amount of the telephone calls, the amount of, you know, processing of things and things like that doesn't change that much when the case numbers drop. We're still, you know, a public service desk. We're still people are making contact with us constantly. And the staffing is such that it's, again, I'm happy to look at it, but I'm not sure that we have a lot of wiggle room there.
Well, it's just, I know that earlier in the year that you said a lot of the stuff, the folks who were working on back cases and stuff, I would think that's probably starting to dry up a little bit. But when you say you're only at a 50% capacity coming in and you got 10 people working, you'd think, well, I only need 5 if I'm only doing 10%. I don't know the court system that well, but I mean,
yeah,
common sense sort of says, well, if you only got 50%, you don't need everybody. I mean, maybe there's temporaries. I don't know. Just something you need to look at, because $500,000 is not something that the township can pick up for a year or two.
No, I appreciate that. And I mean, like I said, it lays bare the shortcomings of how district courts in the state of Michigan are funded, and it's a problem across the board. It's just there's not a linear line to the number of cases versus the amount of work. You know, the phones have to be answered. The phone calls continue to come in. You know, we have 3 people in each department. You know, once somebody's out, you know, then I've got down to 2 people if somebody's on vacation or sick or whatever the case may be. It's just, you know, but again, we can certainly look at what other options may be out there.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
You're on mute.
Thank you. Mark, I just had a question. I know that you said that's kind of the standard across the district courts in Michigan right now. Do you know if there's any discussion at the state level for funding or any grant funding, reimbursements? Sure. I know that a lot of unknowns exist still with COVID, but have you heard of any of that?
So there's a court case that was decided 4 years ago, I think, that told the legislature they had to change how state courts are funded. And the state legislature now has indicated in 2 legislative sessions and changed the law sunsetted this year, and they just renewed the law again, saying that court funding is going to stay the same, that courts can continue to collect. The issue is the collection of costs to fund the operation of the court, which has been deemed unconstitutional. But the legislature pushed that down the road again, indicating that they just passed a law indicating they could do that, despite the court ruling, and that that law would sunset again in 2 years hence. So for right now, we're stuck with the same funding mechanism for the next, I believe it's 2 years, because the legislature didn't address that this session. I mean, and understandably, they had a lot of stuff on their plate this session, but right now that law has simply been sunsetted out again and extended.
Trustee Gerald, did that answer your question?
Yeah, it answered my question.
Okay.
Thank you.
Do you have any further questions or is that it? No. All right. Any other questions or comments? All right, then we'll move on to the next agenda item. Is Angie back? Mike?
Yes, I'm here.
Awesome. Hi, Ange.
Hi.
Sorry about that. So we're at the recreation budget. Angie Burgess, if you will proceed with going over your budget.
Okay, our budget, we tried to be conservative given this time of COVID and we're unsure of what's going to happen for 2021. So we tried to keep it pretty much the same as our predictions in 2020. So that's how we based it, and the revenue and everything that we took in this year was how we started. And I have to say, I commend our staff for coming up with creative ways to sustain our programs and new ways of doing programming. We were able to do some things by Zoom. Our Zoom art classes were popular, whereas some of the other classes weren't. So we still have that as a backup for 2021 if for some reason some of the classes do not go. We initiated some new programs such as our Skyhawk sports program that we're collaborating with people on. So those are some of the changes that we made. Other than that, I don't think there's anything drastic that we did. We did keep our community promotions. We kept that a little higher because we're working to look at some different ways of promoting our programs more. We're working with Mike on that as far as a magazine that includes our recreation as far as other departments in the township. So we're hoping that would help get the word out to new people about our programs, as well as keeping our current residents informed. If there are any questions of any specific line items that I can answer for you, I'd be happy to do that.
Oh, you one attendee is Joanne McCullum.
Hello.
Hi, Joanne.
Hi. Hi, Brenda. Hi, Angie.
Hi, Joanne.
I wanted to know, I've been trying to look on site of how to, I still want to support the community center. You know, I do the 50 over or whatever for my
Okay.
household, and I don't see where I can pay that or what. Are you still collecting for that?
Yes, we are. And we're currently doing weekly email updates. And then we're going to do a mailing actually as well of the newsletter. But you can mail your check in, or you can come in person to pay. We have had people come in person to pay for their 50 and Beyond membership. Yes.
Okay, great. Because I thought I saw it was completely closed.
No, we're opening in phases. So we're open to the general public. And in the beginning of November, we'll add phase 2 for the 50 and Beyond program, where they can come in for more socializing. We'll add, I believe, pickleball. We have a list of things that will be added in each phase, and I can make sure you get a copy of that.
Okay. Are you renting out spaces for limited amount of people yet?
No, we're not renting spaces yet because our space is not large enough. It's like 20 people per 1,000 square feet or something like that, which would not give us enough for rentals.
Oh, okay. Because I have 16 people that I would like to. That's why I wanted it, because of big room. So we can be 6 feet apart.
Okay. So you could give me a call. 16
Okay.
people, I have to look at what the guidelines are. Something like 16 people we may be able to accommodate, but we would have to put it in our larger room.
Yeah.
It's based on the square footage. So I would just need to see what's available there. We do have some dance programs and things like that are going on in the evening, socially distanced. So I can look at a room and see what might be available.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you, Joanne. Are there other questions or comments? from board members, or it's just that this is just an odd year for anything that had to do with revenue. So it's hard to, other than, tax revenue is pretty, you can determine that, but other revenue and these revenue funds are just harder. And we're really hoping that we don't have the same experience with the virus as we did last year. I think that'll make a big difference. I do think the recreation team has done a good job on trying to put different things in place. And I went to the Art Serafinsky golf outing, and that was awesome. I mean, that was he would have been proud to see that many people at a golf outing. And I think that if we can continue to promote different things, like you're trying, Angie, and your staff, and I think it'll end up hopefully coming back up next year. That's all we can hope for.
Yes.
And I do see that there are 3 custodians budgeted. I think is there 2 or?
There's 1 full-time and 2 part-time currently.
Okay, gotcha. So that makes 3 total,
Yes, there's 3.
because I know we're not using it as much. And I think the YMCA is a very successful program, right?
Yes, we've collaborated with them on a couple things. They're currently doing the learning lab. Their numbers are not as high as they're expected, but they are servicing a small number of students who still need that virtual learning while parents are working. So
Mhm.
we're doing that with them throughout the school year this year.
Okay. Any other questions or comments, team?
Yes, couple. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can.
Okay, thanks. Thank you, Madam Chair. A couple of things, Angie. First things first, I wanted to give congratulations on the look of the new registration site. It looks a lot cleaner, and it is. It really pops in the eye. And I know once hopefully post-coronavirus in soon, more of the public will be able to see this and be able to easily register for the programming that we have at the rec center. So I just wanted to make sure I pointed that out first because it looks great. Secondly, the one thing that I did see though is that the link on the website on whitetown.org does not connect in with the catalog.
Okay, we
Yep.
can look at that.
Mhm.
We do have a direct link that's
Yeah.
whiterec.org.
Mhm.
It would take people directly to the catalog. So I
Yeah.
can check with IT on that other connection you're talking about.
Yeah, it's under the recreation program policies. There's it says register online, and then it says click here for online registration. Both of those link to pretty much a 404. So that's just for the future. So that more people, if they go on to directly to Whitetown to connect into the registration site, that they could be able to connect and see it. The other question I had is obviously there have been a decrease in park fees, like gate fees, and maybe this is I guess you say projection question. Obviously, if it depends all on how things shake up with the overall environment, but what would be, I guess you could say, your criteria on initiating the park fees again in 2021, if that can even be done?
Our thing is just having staff. They didn't get applications, maybe a couple applications is all they got for staffing. And that's why we were not able to have people staff. We had people that wanted to rent the shelters, and that number was down because we didn't collect the gate fees, and with the shelter we couldn't rent every day because we may not have had someone to clean it if it was consecutive days over the weekend. But yeah, we hope to have staff next year, that way we can collect those gate fees. That was the major drawback this time. Was a lot of times we had the college students, and we don't know if this year their parents didn't want them to work or they weren't interested in working because of COVID. So that's why our gate fees were down.
Okay, yeah, thank you. And I appreciate hearing that, because hopefully that will be a source of revenue that will be able to be picked back up for recreation budget next year, even though I won't be here, but either way. And then last thing I just wanted to highlight is that I have got many compliments in regards to how our parks are looking. I know that's something that Recreation kind of shares. So I just wanted to make sure that, also a lot of residents have told me personally that they appreciate that the parks are looking well, and they have been able to use that and enjoy the parks during these difficult times. So thank you.
Oh, good. We appreciate that. That is definitely a team effort, because on our side, recreation, we just push people out to the parks.
Yeah, right.
Go out there, but you got the maintenance who's taking care of it, trimming the bushes and all that for us. So we appreciate that as well.
Not a problem. Thank you so much, Angie.
Madam Chair.
Yes, Treasurer Doe.
Yeah, Angie, I'm just looking at all the what you think you're going to make, and it really looks like you almost carried everything over from 20 original budget. And I'm looking at dance, we got 16,000 in the, let me said that we got 50,000 in dance. Through 9/30, we've generated just under 11, and we budgeted 84 or 4850 for next year. Almost every one of our budgeting is almost identical with what we had for 2020. And we know we're going to go into this for the first 4, 5, 6 months of next year. I'm just wondering, we really need to take a really good look at, what expenditures we're having on those. I know with the staff, we're looking at paying out, we've earned $13,000 is what we budgeted we was going to earn, and we've got 4,200. I would just think that we really need to look at the numbers that we're putting out there. We've sort of just shifted them across, saying we're going to pretty much make what we planned on making last year, which we're not going to make, and just try to make sure that we're coming up with good numbers and not having me work 8 hours a day and only have 2 hours worth of dance classes. And I'm not sure how your whole system works, but when we're budgeting what we've budgeted for the last 4 or 5 years on almost every item, and we know that's not going to come in, and it's not coming in this year, and we started in March, and obviously we're not going to be out of this thing for at least the first half of next year. I don't think, God willing we are, but I would just really take a good look at all those numbers and make sure you think you can really make them, because
Yeah, I understand your concern with that as well. And when we put it together, we didn't know we would be still at this point with COVID either. So it could be, a grandiose expectation that we'll get that, not knowing what's going to happen. So that's why I kind of kept it the same as 20. I looked at everything we had and still kept it close to the same, if not lowering it a little bit in some places, just hoping that we could recover by 2021. No idea that we still be this far into it at this point even.
yeah,
But I understand what you're
you
saying.
may want to just rethink it a little bit.
Yeah. And of course, we won't work the staff all of the hours that we projected either if we've got less kids or that kind of thing. We will monitor the personnel as well, that side of the expense.
All right, any other questions for recreation? Thank you, Angie.
Thank you.
Next is Kirk Sherwood. Kirk, I see you're on the, let me unmute you.
Good evening.
Hi.
All right. So for this budget, we did the best to just forecast moving forward. Obviously, with COVID-19, golf was a sport that people could play, and because of that, the golf course actually has done really well this year. We started roughly $100,000 down, and at the end of September, revenues and expenses just about matched. So I mean, that's minus the 150,000 that was moved in from BSR two. So overall, I couldn't ask really for a better year based on that happening. I also would say that with this new card agreement, we stand to save about 9,000 a year, which is going to help with that number as well. But I'm really proud of the job my staff's done. Tim's staff has done a great job. We faced some hardships, obviously, in the staffing department. Very light on our side. Tough to get people to apply, just like they said for the parks. But fortunately, we were able to have a few card attendants here and there. And Tim, unfortunately, wasn't able to get too many staff people. I think he ended up with three people that worked one full-time position, basically. But because of that, we had to spend a little bit more as far as, unfortunately, in his budget, I was able to use back the carts based on single cart usage.
Questions or comments?
Madam Chair.
Yes, Trustee Wilson?
All right. Yes, I just want to say, Kurt, good job with the continuous improvement that we have been seeing since you've been on board. That's all. Thanks.
Thank you. Did we talk about the beverage carts? I know you talked about carts, but did we talk about the liquor license process and where we're at and the projected increase in that?
Absolutely. I mean, I had forecasted roughly a $60,000 increase with the liquor license. Last communication I had with them was August 23rd, where they had requested a document about regarding municipal property as well as an outdoor service area. Sent them an email about a week and a half ago. She sent it back saying she responded on the 23rd, which I never received anything, nor did I get any notification from the lawyer. But they're basically looking, and I just sent this document over to Lisa to be amended, but they need the document for local approval from the township to read. And it has to read exactly this. Instead of saying Class C liquor license, it needs to say Class C liquor license. I have the exact wording, but it has to say Class C liquor license for outside service area on municipal property, and exactly that wording for them to move forward.
Okay.
And I've also been notified there's some COVID-19 paperwork that'll have to be completed after that. And at that point, I mean, we've kind of been waiting on this inspection process since early April. And COVID-19 has just backlogged it, and that's kind of where we're sitting right now. But I would love to have this in position for next year so that we can follow exactly what's on this budget and continue to chip away at this deficit.
All right. I think, does the revenue project an increase in the rates, a slight increase in the rates for 2021?
We're looking at bringing this to the board on November 17th. Want to do a little bit of research, but we are anticipating an increase in rates.
Is that in your revenue, a line item?
Well, yes. I mean, these numbers, you know, with this year being COVID-19 related, we have surpassed most of the actual golf numbers. I fell short a little bit on sales in the shop as well as food and beverage because of the late start. But overall, the numbers are strong, and I think that they could get stronger and we could continue to chip away into this should we have a price increase. But again, the weather's been great, and with the price increase, I think the numbers will hold whether we get the weather or not.
Okay, so my question was just, did the revenue include the slight increase that you're proposing?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. I'm sorry.
I'm sorry, I misunderstood.
I wasn't clear on it, so I'm sorry. And then you had an increase in maintenance and an increase in the pro shop for temporary workers?
I did. The increase in the pro shop, I think I'd asked to go from 31 to 40,000. In order for this golf course to run properly, we're going to have to hire rangers with a liquor license to maintain what's going on this golf course. I've been fortunate to be able to run it from the golf shop and kind of check times and turns and stay on top of pace and move people around and do that kind of thing to keep customers happy. But with this liquor license and carrying on of coolers and people bringing their own alcohol, we're going to have to assume that we're going to need some rangers employees for rangering, as well as additional staff on league nights, as well as possible beverage person in order to make the liquor license work the way it's supposed to work, as well as have the people in place to make sure that it's being done the right way.
Okay, thank you. Any other questions or comments from board members or?
Madam Chair.
Yes, trustee Ross Williams.
Just a quick comment, kind of following up on trustee Wilson's comment. Kurt, I just want to say I have been continuously amazed and pleased on how it is that you have been able to improve the Greenhouse Golf Course. Your vision and ideas and initiatives continue just to have our community be able to support and have this golf course as a recreational item here. And I just wanted to say thank you. And I remember when you came with your vision, and it's coming out in the numbers. Even in a year where it has been difficult for all, your numbers are still continuing to improve. And I would say probably if covert wasn't here, which we all would hope that it will go away soon, it would even be better. So thank you so much. And I'll continue to watch your work at the golf course.
Thank you very much, Monica.
Thank you, Monica. All right. Next up is the LDFA, Giovanna. This is Shanna. Nothing for JoJo. There we go.
All right, sorry about that. Thank you, Supervisor Stumbo. Okay, so the first thing I would like to take a look at is the LDFA fund. That's our Fund 250. That was set up based on an LDFA, a special taxing that we would do for the Seaver Farms infrastructure. We had bonds, so it coincides with the Fund 398. We collect taxes from, it was Bozel. I do have to say that this last year that Bozel has sold their property to Orphic Ypsilanti. So it's a new company that's in that building. We will still collect LDFA taxes on that, but the tax on the property has gone down considerably. So we've lost a lot of the personal property taxes. It has gone down from over 2 million to 676 that we can collect on. So the amount that we're collecting for the LDFA, as you can see here, is very small now. It's 7,572. That gets actually transferred then over to the debt fund, which is the next one. So if there's any questions that you have on the LDFA, you can ask that now, and then I'll move on to the debt fund because that's where those funds move to pay our bond debt. No questions? Okay.
Madam Chair. Giovanna, I guess the bond is what, 2029? Is that?
Yes, and I'll explain that when we go down to the bond. So the next fund that I'll go over is that general obligation bonds. That was set in place for the infrastructure on the Seaver Farms. And again, we would collect special taxes from Bozel. However, like I said, they have sold that property and will now be collecting taxes from the new owner of that property. The bond itself, as of the end of 2020, we will owe a balance of $1,885,000. As Larry had said earlier, the bond will be paid off in 2029. The actual amount of the debt, principal and interest on that So the principal is 190,000 and the interest then is 42,960 for the year, making the debt payment that we have to have from this fund $233,400. We're only getting in 78,572 from the LDFA fund. There is a fund balance that was left in the 398. That actually came over from what we had left over from the capital bond. We did not use all of the capital for the infrastructure. There was some left on the bond, so that just moved over to help pay again for the debt on the bond itself. So we'll be using most of that this year, the fund balance in that account to make up the deficit. We also have to have 39,500 from the general fund moved in. So that's for 21. In 2022, I do want to say that the shortfall is going to be a lot more. It'll be that we'll need 157,000 from the general fund to come over unless the new owners have more personal property taxes, although those are exempt now from the state. There are some different levels, but that's pretty much how that stands right at the moment. Is there any questions?
Just Madam Chair, just a quick question. Will the new owners actually be holding inventory at all inside of that location? And if so, is that some tax revenue that can be picked up by the township?
Well, that's hard to say because the personal property taxes in the state they're exempt. If it's under 40,000, it's definitely exempt. But they've been doing a gradual schedule of just exempting all personal property taxes. So
wow, including inventories, including the inventory.
It's not inventory. It would be personal. So it would be equipment, whatever they have on the lines, not inventory itself, but the machines and stuff.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yes. Yes, that has very much decreased. So if they go over that, so I don't really know exactly what their industry is. I don't know what they do. I did not ask the assessing department. I apologize, but if they do something to the building, now if they increase whatever's in the building, then we couldn't do that, actually to the building itself. That would increase the value of the property just like it would any other home or place. So hopefully that'll happen.
You. Yeah, hopefully.
You're welcome.
Thank you.
Giovanna, if they bring in a manufacturing to that, the equipment, then that will change that narrative.
Yeah, the personal property taxes will go up. It's always what the state is going to allow them to exempt and what they'll have to pay for. So we just kind of have to see where that's going to be at. But no, our assessing department goes in and does a check on their personal property taxes, and that's what they do in that department, and they'll actually value it how it's supposed to. And if they do increase, then of course we'll be able to collect more. So I won't know anything other than what I have right now, but next year when they get the taxable values, when they're all set with those and prepared to pull those out, then we'll see where we stand at that point.
I also believe, and I know our attorney was researching, that we will continue to collect property taxes to make us whole as a township. So even though the bonds might expire on a certain date, if it takes longer for us to recoup the repayment back to the township, then we're going to get it. It's just going to be a longer period of time. And we, like you said, we have to, general fund has to help, or fund balance has to help with that fund. But we'll get our money back. So. Any other questions or comments? No? Well, all right. That concludes the budget overview. So we're going to set a public hearing, and then we'll have a public hearing at our next regular scheduled meeting. And we'll put it all together based on the input that we've received. And there weren't a whole lot of changes. I really do want to thank Debbie Graham, who refuses to come on the meeting, but I just want to thank her and Joe and Tammy, for helping us get this together. And I don't like doing it by Zoom, but we got to do what we have to do in order to move government business forward. So we'll proceed and make decisions next year on our millages to see how we're going to address the shortfall for Fund 248. So right now it's 6 o'clock. Do you guys want to go over the agenda? Yay? Okay. We'll take a break at about 6:45 before the regular meeting starts, if that's okay. The next item on the agenda is that we have public hearings. These are for the special assessment levies. Clerk Rowe, are you on the meeting? I see your name, but I don't see your picture. I'm here. Okay. Are you in the building with me? All right. Do you have, you have any comments about the public hearing?
This is required by law. Any special assessment districts that we had public hearings on during the year that we created, they're required to be notified and have those twice. You have to have them twice a year. So these are the 4 that we've created this year. So this is a mailing went out to let them know that they have another chance to, support or object to the special assessment district.
Any questions or comments regarding that? All right, I gotta switch binders here. We have public comments at this time. I see one. Oh, I'm sorry. One attendee has their name. Paul Davis.
Yeah, so are we discussing that now, or was that planned for the 7 p.m.?
We can discuss it now if you would like.
All right, well, yeah, I don't know if you remember, basically I just said that I just moved to the Majestic Lakes community, and I actually lived about 10 minutes away in the West Willow community, and I was a bit surprised and definitely shocked about the difference in property tax when I moved just 10 minutes away in the same township. Roughly, I guess I was told that my tax bill would amount to about $6,100 a year. And, considering, the drastic increase, at least for me, in the tax bill, I was kind of taken aback to find out that there would be a special assessment for the streetlights, in this community. So I guess, my question about that is, I guess for the millage that was used to estimate my taxes, when I was basically having this home built, what was in that millage? Weren't there already, coverage for streetlights in the community? And I guess in general, why is there a special assessment just to have streetlights for this community? Given that, I'm pretty sure each of the houses here are similar or more than, I paid for my home. So I'm pretty sure they're paying the same or more in property taxes. So I guess I just want to find out like what's involved in this and why is there a special assessment? Why wasn't this covered in the normal millage for property taxes in this area?
All right. Clerk Rowe, would you like to answer that or do you want me to?
I could answer it. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yeah. Streetlights are special assessments are usually gathered because the residents want them, they'll petition for them, and it's all covered under state law. Or for all new developments, which is where you're at, the developers, the township usually enters into what's called a development agreement with the developers of the subdivision, and they agree in that agreement to pay for the installation of the lights so that the homeowners only have to pay for the operation, basically what electricity is used to run the street lights in that district, and it's divided by the total number of people that live in there. If you lived in West Willow, you had a special assessment on for the streetlights. You know, it's an older one. I'm not sure how much that you paid, and it's not a part of your tax bill. It's separate. But it's paid in with the December tax bill. That special assessment goes on your property, so it is collected in that tax bill, even though it's not taxes and it's a special assessment. It runs with the property. Goes with the property when it's sold. It stays. The only time it's inflated or goes up is when the cost of electricity goes up, and like we pretty much like in West Willow, you probably got a reduction because we put in LED lights over there. All the new ones have the LED lights to make the costs of operations lower. Your millages, with the exception of the one state floated millage, are all millages that are very specific when the voters vote on them, and that money is collected and can only be used for those purposes, like the trash, rubbish, garbage, recycling, compost one that you're going to have a renew or increase next year on. And then there's one for police. There's a separate one for fire, and all those have specific language, which is different. The biggest probably hit that you got, which a lot of times new homeowners don't realize, that if you had been at your home for very long in West Willow, then you had what's called a cap. Under state law, your taxes can only go up a percentage based on the cost of living and its adjustment that's put on each year. And so, but when a new property comes online or a home is sold, then that cap comes off and you actually pay 50% of the actual value, the market value becomes your taxable value. And that's when it's become such a shock, is when you buy something new because you don't have the cap on it. It's like if your property goes up, might go up 5 or 6% a year, but you only be able to, the taxes can only rise. And even that gets rolled back. If it's too high over than what was originally voted in by voters, then it actually has to be rolled back. And so you can't assess the full millage over the length of a millage if the property values in the community you live in and own property in is actually going up in value. I know that was a long answer to a short question, so I don't know if you have a follow-up, Mr. Davis.
No, I mean, I do realize all of the things that you said, because I did get that shock when I purchased the home in West Willow, because yeah, it did go by market value. And that was a big change. I guess, my general question is, and I understand how it works when you purchased a home and, what's used to come up with, to be multiplied against the millage. But I guess, my basic thing is just as a person, as a resident, I do have this tax bill, and I'm wondering, like, why couldn't streetlights or paying for just the electricity, I guess, be covered in that tax bill? I mean, is it a normal thing that the cost for electricity is always a special assessment, or is there some reason why this is a special assessment on top of the tax bill that we pay?
Because normally you're an exception, you're subdivision, because the newer subdivisions, like, you don't have a choice on it. The petitioner, when they own most of the property, petitions for the special assessment district. If there are people who were living there at the time when it was first created earlier in the year, then they have a voice and get a chance to come to the meeting, or send, call in or voice their support or objection to it. But any other subdivision, streetlights are actually petitioned. And under the state law, streetlights, roads, water, and sewer, like sidewalks, are the only things that, if homeowners want to improve properties or their neighborhood, that they can actually petition to have curb and gutter put on, or sidewalks put in, or their road paved from dirt to or if they decide, because we have lots of neighborhoods that have no street lights. So it's just the way historically that's been set up under the legislation. Like, even before millages were even around, people could petition and have their neighborhoods improved through street lights, paving of their roads, sidewalks, sewer, water installations.
Yeah, the special assessment has to benefit you. So the street lights are in your community and that's a benefit. And 90, I think it was like 94 to 96, we had a lot of neighborhoods, existing neighborhoods petitioning to put street lights in afterwards. And DTE used to pay for the construction of doing that and then they stopped. So what we did to make it, more affordable is to put it in the beginning. So whoever purchased their home would be aware of the total cost for the special taxes and special assessment.
Okay. Oh, so you're saying that what I was quoted, basically that is with the special assessment, that should have been with the special assessment included?
I believe it will be, sir.
Oh, okay. All right. Awesome.
I mean, we can double check offline, send us an email. You can look it up online at whitetown.org, put your address in and you can see, what taxes you pay and what special assessments you pay as well. But we can follow up on that. It should include the special assessments as well.
Okay.
Correct? Mary? Very good. Okay. We have another, Mr. Davis is, do you have any question?
No, that's it. Thank you.
Thank you. Joanne McCullum?
Yes, is this just for the public hearing that we're talking now because, or is it public comments now? I'm kind of confused. I'm sorry.
He asked under public comments, was there to talk about ask questions about the special assessment?
But we'll have public comments at 7, correct?
Yeah, we can do them now and we can do them at 7 as well. We're just, he asked very specifically about his special assessment and that's on the agenda.
Okay, I guess I'll wait till 7.
You can do, okay. Yeah, you can public comment on both. If there's any, let me check my hands up here. Oh. So Joanne, you can public comment now or wait until 7 as well.
Well, I was gonna comment on something on the agenda, which is, might as well do it now, I guess. So number 11 on the agenda, the reimbursement.
Okay.
So I am just in disagreement of that reimbursement for Clerk Rowe getting reimbursed with taxpayers' money for the court case. Lovejoy Rowe versus Stumble Doe. I believe this case came about because Clerk Rowe took advantage of her position and strategically put her daughter-in-law on the ballot, making sure no one else would be on the ballot. And if the Clerk Rowe did not have confidence in her daughter-in-law, trustee Jarrell Rowe, the residents of Ypsilanti Township should not have been cheated out of voting their choice candidates on the ballot, nor should they have to pay for Lovejoy Rowe's legal fees. So Supervisor Stumble and Treasurer Doe did what they did for the residents. And Clerk Rowe did what she did for her own self. So I hope this doesn't pass because as Board of Trustees, you are still obligated to work for the people. And so I hope that this does not go through. Thank you.
Thank you. The next on the consent agenda, we have the minutes of the special meeting, October 6th, regular meeting. The October 6th minutes were sent out. Was it last night or this morning? I think it was last night, Clerk Rowe. Yeah.
And then again today.
Yeah. I'll be honest, I haven't read them, but that's, that's on me. And it was missed in the packet. Clerk Rowe was out of town and forgot to tell the deputy clerk that they were good to go. So
Madam Chair, I did have a question. I'll be honest, I have not had a chance to review those minutes either. If those, what is the time frame that minutes have to be accepted by the board? Because that would be just the first question, because I haven't had a chance to review them at all.
Clerk Rowe, you want me to answer that? Or? Clerk Rowe, are you there? I think,
I'm sorry, there.
yes, we're,
Yeah, I'm sorry, I was muted. I didn't understand the question, but if you did, go ahead and answer it.
I believe her question was, what is the time frame for approval of minutes? And draft minutes are available 5 days after the meeting, I believe, and then they're adopted or presented to the board for approval within 30 days. So we have to have them on the agenda. We've tabled minutes before, we've changed minutes before, but every month you should have you have 30 days, correct, Clerk Rowe?
Yeah, they're pretty, yeah, these minutes, with the exception of the board member updates, you know, just because they're just pretty much the motions. There's some public comments was on there, but everything else is pretty, so maybe people have time to read them between now and the board meeting.
Oh, it's just me. I know you sent them out last night. I apologize. I have not had time to read them, but that's just me, Karen. I'm sure other members have. But they have to be on the agenda within 30 days. And they're on the agenda. Any questions or comments other than that? Monica, did I answer your question?
You did, thank you.
Statements and checks? Treasurer's report? General legal update?
Madam Chair, no general legal update other than what I've been sending out over the last number of weeks. Most of the items, or a good deal of the items on the new business might have some input on, but no general legal update.
Okay. Any questions of our township attorney? Hearing none, we'll move to new business. We have the First Amendment to the Development Agreement for Pine View Golf Estates North Subdivision, Phase 2. Is Jason? I don't see Jason. Let me go to the attendees. No. Mr. Winters, can you handle this?
Well, for the work session, yes, the Pine View Golf Estates was a PD agreement that was entered into over 20 years ago. It had 3 phases. The one phase had 9 homes, but would not be constructed unless there was a connection to Whitaker Road from Pine View Drive. That connection never happened, nor is it probably ever going to happen. So those 9 homes were never built. The gentleman who is now the owner of the property is the son of the original developer, Mr. Baranzini. And so he had requested that that portion of the development agreement be amended. And he was actually willing to decrease the density from 9 homes down to 4 homes. And so during the last number of months, he has worked pretty diligently with his attorney, with Jason, with the Road Commission, with the Drain Commission, Yucca, to come up with a plan that was going to result in a cul-de-sac of 4 homes, approximately 1.8 acres in size. It's going to result in, there's 4 homes that currently exist on Pine View Drive that are unpaved. And this new phase of 4 homes will result in the paving of those 4 homes on Pine View Drive. And so it's a less intensive use than what was called for in the development agreement. Jason was of the opinion, and I agreed with that, because it was of a less intense use, going from 9 to 4, that he could work through the administrative site plan. And again, he did so. And I think that this will complete that development. It will also be a benefit to the existing homeowners, because there'll be no cut through traffic through that subdivision that originally could have occurred if there had been a connection to Whitaker Road. So all in all, I believe it's a win-win situation, less density, a cul-de-sac that's going to provide a better emergency turnaround access than currently exists out there. The paving of the portion of Pine View Drive that is currently unpaved, where 4 homes have been built. At the same time, allow this to come to um, more of a larger site, 1.8 acres for per home, for 4 homes. Again, I think Jason has done an excellent job of trying to bring all the parties together to make this. We have meetings, as you may remember, back before COVID, trying to figure out how to see if there was a path forward for this gentleman to proceed. And I think that this is the best scenario for him. It's a good opportunity for the township to close out this development.
All right, any questions or comments? And Mr. Winters, because this is a straight development versus a plan development, it does not need to go to the planning commission, is that correct?
Right, again, yes, correct. And again, because Jason had made the interpretation under our ordinance that because the density was being decreased, it was of less intense use, and therefore he could handle that through the administrative site plan review process.
Okay, but if it was a PD, it would have to go to the planning commission.
If it was a planned development?
Mm-hmm. I think
so. How I normally would go, yes, yeah, yes.
Yeah, but it is a decrease, I'm sorry. Okay, Jason just texted me and he was having trouble connecting, but he will for sure be at the regular meeting. I'm glad to see this finally, hopefully come to a conclusion for the residents who always wonder if there's going to be a connection. And the end of it will be paved so that emergency vehicles can go into that end to service them, correct? Yes. Okay.
Madam Chair, just
Yes.
Just real quick on page 146, on the contract itself, the word amendment, First Amendment, I'm sure it's not anything that will, have big issues, but amendment is spelled wrong.
Oh, okay.
Yep.
All right. Okay, the next item on the agenda is to authorize circuit court litigation to abate public nuisance at 885 Lexington Parkway, 1253 Crestwood, 1117 Davis, 7941 Lakecrest, and 9607 Harbor Cove. Michael Radzik.
Good evening.
Good evening.
There are 6 properties included in this request, 4 on the north side and 2 on the south side. The first one is at 885 Parkwood. This is a single family house in the Ecorse Road neighborhood. It's vacant. It, as you can tell from the photographs there, is very dilapidated. The yard hasn't been maintained. There's blight all over the place. Our staff investigated this and learned that the owner, a gentleman by the name of Lee Roy Payne, passed away back in 2014. Water and power has been shut off since prior to his death. And we applied for and received an administrative warrant to go in and do an inspection back in August. It was quite a dangerous inspection because once I happened to be there that day with Bill Elling and Tom Greenwood. Once we got in the front door, it was readily apparent that the interior was structurally unsound. The ceilings were collapsing, the walls were also starting to come down, and it was quite dangerous. So we did what we could and then backed out and secured it. We firmly believe this will have to be demolished and it cannot be saved. And we're currently assisting Mr. McLean from our legal counsel's office to try to track down any heirs. And if we're unsuccessful, he may need to seek help from the Washtenaw County Public Administrator to resolve the probate obstacles that would be in the way to abate this nuisance in the circuit court. The next one is at 1244 Lexington Parkway up in the Holmes Road neighborhood. This house has been the subject of numerous complaints from neighbors about an illegal car repair business, at least an allegation of such, being operated there. We did issue a notice of violation. Tom Greenwood handled this case, and based on that and his observations, lent credibility to the complaints from the neighbors. We got no response for quite a long time. Initially, it was forwarded to legal counsel's office under administrative authority. And since then, the property owner, a woman by the name of Joanne Harvey, did contact Mr. Greenwood, indicated it was her daughter's boyfriend living at the house who was the offender in the case, and he was also fighting her efforts to evict him from the property. And this is currently pending in circuit court, and we're hopeful that will not only abate the nuisance, but assist the property owner in her endeavors. The next one's at 1253 Crestwood Avenue, also in the Ecorse neighborhood. We've had over a dozen complaints there in the last 3 years, all involving junk vehicles. And as you can see from the photos, an extensive accumulation of, I guess, what we would call common household items. However, they shouldn't be stored outdoors the way they are. All the previous investigations were resolved after a long time of coaxing compliance from the property owner. However, this one, we've not been able to do that, and it's in fact gotten worse since we started. So we've requested circuit court to try to abate this for the benefit of the neighborhood. The property owner is Jewel Mackey, who resides there with her adult son, and we believe the son is the cause of most of these issues. Neighbors also report observing a lot of rats coming and going out of the piles of junk at this property. And we made sure that the Water Resource Commissioner, Evan Pratt, was made aware of this area as we've been talking with him extensively about the rat abatement and the storm sewers and that program that's upcoming. Next one's at 1117 Davis, also in the Ecorse Road neighborhood. It was discovered vacant with no electricity in the area by one of our inspectors who was in the area on another complaint. The investigation determined that the owners, who are Ernest and Kendra Wilson, probably left the house vacant sometime about a year ago, which coincides with when the utility services were cut off. And it also coincides with the date that they purchased another house elsewhere here in Ypsilanti Township. We believe it's in some phase of mortgage foreclosure because of the notices on the door. However, there have been no sheriff sales since early this year because of COVID, and we're not quite sure when the mortgage foreclosure sheriff sales will be resuming this year. There are electrical code violations, ceilings interior on the inside are collapsing. There's extensive mold growth on the walls. The township's been cutting the grass all year, and the neighbors just don't deserve this. So we've requested circuit court to abate this. The final two, whoops, I lost my place here. The final two are on the south side, and they're both owned by the same gentleman. The first one is in the Ford Lake Heights neighborhood off Huron River Drive at 7941 Lake Crest Drive. It's been the subject of complaints from some neighbors due to things like shingles coming off the roof. One neighbor actually put a gutter back up that had fallen down and was hanging. The township has been mowing the grass all summer long. It's owned by a gentleman by the name of Joseph Amador III. He's currently incarcerated with the Michigan Department of Corrections for a little bit more than a year. And his earliest possible release date is in 2032. We did do an inspection of this property with an administrative warrant. Interestingly enough, when we started this process back earlier this year, we sent a letter to Mr. Amador at this address. We did receive a handwritten note back from him. We couldn't determine from the postmarks where it came from, but it essentially said, "You made a mistake, the house isn't vacant, we're living there," which we know not to be true. So we've requested authorization to move this forward to the circuit court to try to abate it before it gets any worse, because it is in quite salvageable condition right now, but may not be if left the way it is much longer. And then finally at 9607 Harbor Cove Court, that is the Harbor Cove condominiums at Huron River Drive and Textile. It is a small condo also owned by Mr. Amador. It's been the subject of complaints by the condo association for the last 5 years. Mr. Amador told us that it was not a rental property, that he only occasionally visited the unit. Then in 2018, it went through mortgage foreclosure and was acquired by Peter Jordan and Adam Majera, names you may recognize. Some of our um, frequent flyer, I guess, if you will, investors who purchase a lot of properties. They bought the redemption rights. Mr. Amador did, in fact, redeem it back from them. But since then, neighbors and the HOA have been complaining about mold odors and other issues. So we got a search warrant. We went in there in August. We found all kinds of interior problems, water leakage, electrical code violations. We couldn't verify the odor of mold because there was a strong competing odor of marijuana from adjacent units. But the code violations there remain unresolved. The water leakage is definitely going to lead to some serious problems if left unabated. And both us and the condominium association do not want it to go any further. So we've requested authorization on this one as well.
Thank you, Michael. Any questions or comments from Mike, our township attorney? You know, I do want to say that a lot of, for most of us, our biggest investment is our house. And when you see some of the photographs, you know, that's in the packet, it's just, we want to protect the values of our home, and we don't want vacant buildings that are dilapidated in our neighborhoods. We want to protect and stabilize it. And this is one way of doing that. And sometimes circumstances aren't good, and I understand that for some homeowners, but at the same time, we need to make sure that our goal is always compliance. We've said that, and you guys have been very patient in trying to gain compliance on some of these houses. So, you know, for the neighborhood who continues to call in and call ordinance, and for the homeowners in the adjacent area and the renters in the adjacent area, you know, thank you for moving these forward.
You're welcome.
All right, no questions or comment on that. Then the next item is to set the public hearing date for on November 17th at approximately 7 o'clock for the 2021 fiscal year budget. Any questions on that? Do this every year.
I'm sorry to interrupt. There was a second public nuisance agenda item that I had. It was the way it was written, I think it was easy to miss.
I'm sorry, Michael, thank you.
Would you like me to briefly describe this one? This one was separated from the others because it's a request for public nuisance abatement by padlocking due to narcotics trafficking. It's a property you're familiar with, 2545 Coolidge Avenue, over by the YCUA facility on the eastern edge of the township, north of I-94. It's a single family property. It's owned by a woman by the name of Donna Cole. We've had Ms. Cole and others in circuit court now for quite some time. In fact, just yesterday, 5 of us from staff and 1 from the sheriff's department participated in a 6-hour-long evidentiary hearing in Washtenaw County Circuit Court in front of Judge Kunke with Mr. McLean. It was done by way of Zoom, and it was quite an ordeal. That was on the original property maintenance condemnation case that the board authorized earlier. And I'm happy to report Mr. McLean was able to secure an order from the judge granting all of the relief that we had requested. So they are under orders for sometime in the next 60 days to demolish all of the structures on that property to abate the nuisance. However, there's no guarantee that they'll move forward and actually fulfill that order. And in the meantime, the sheriff's department did raid it while our property maintenance case was pending. And this was the one you probably heard about. I think I sent a notification out. The raid involved the property owner's brother, a gentleman named Edward Katz, who resides on Merritt Road in Pittsfield Township. But the investigation revealed that he was going back and forth between Toledo and the Coolidge address, trafficking cocaine and marijuana. When the police raided the place, they seized more than 400 grams of powdered cocaine. That's a lot of cocaine. 7 large bags of marijuana, pounds each, a lot of paraphernalia, almost 10,000 in cash, about a dozen firearms, one of which was a pistol that was reported stolen here in Ypsilanti Township in a home invasion back in February, stolen from someone's home. And they had enough evidence to then go and do a second search warrant at his residence on Merritt Road in Pittsfield Township. So while this other public nuisance case, the original one, remains almost resolved, we have no guarantee that they will comply with the court's order. And so, Mr. McLean, we did get administrative authority, and the wheels are in motion to get this other padlock case underway as a, I guess, insurance policy, if you will, to just ensure that no further narcotics trafficking will be occurring at this location, regardless of how that is accomplished.
All right. Thank you. Questions or comments from board members or attendees?
Madam Chair,
Yes, Attorney Winters.
if I could just maybe add a brief comment to what Mike is talking about is we've all watched how these cases have played out over the last number of years. And sometimes you can get extremely fatigued in terms of seeing what we have witnessed during the last, I say 12, 14, 15 years. And I just, and your energy level can go up and down, and especially when you're dealing with the COVID environment and trying to accommodate everyone's schedules. But I do think it's almost, I'm not saying it's over and above, but I do think that the 6-hour Zoom hearing may have actually been much more exhausted than people can imagine when you're trying to shepherd witnesses. They have to be isolated, or at least not in some kind of what they call a breakout room, and to have the amount of people involved here and trying to coordinate it. Sometimes it's difficult to coordinate it if you're actually in the courthouse, much less if you're trying to do it through this technology. But just wanted to give more of a thank you to my law partner and Mike and the sheriff's deputies, all the administrative staff. We've seen, I know all of you have been used to hearing Bill Elling's name and Jill Kahonik's name over the years, but we got some other great young officers coming up, and Tom Greenwood and Lindsay Mia that are starting to really, I guess, get more and more acclimated and have taken the lead on a number of these cases here tonight and trying to fulfill that mission statement. So I just wanted to take a moment and just again say thanks to all those people, because I watched Denny yesterday leave here, and he was pretty whipped in terms of going through that 6-hour Zoom hearing. But again, this one over here in Coolidge has been a very, very, very trying situation. The legal counsel involved has been extremely difficult for even the court to try and, I think, at times contain. So sometimes if we sound a little bit kind of frazzled and tired, it's because I guess we are, but no more than any of you. It's just that sometimes your job is all of our jobs are going to be much more challenging when you have to sort of readjust to a new paradigm of how you handle these court cases. But we made that adjustment, and just want to make certain everybody on Mike's team and the sheriff's department know how much they're appreciated.
Thank you, Mr. Winters. And I think Jill testified. Is that correct, Mike? Or was waiting 5 hours somewhere? Yeah.
Well, Jill Kahonik actually testified for almost 2 hours. Bill Elling was well over an hour. Sergeant Josh Arts from the Sheriff's Department, Jason Icoangeli testified, and everyone did an outstanding job.
Great, many thanks. The next item is just to set the public hearing. Number 5 is to request a public hearing for November 17th to create a special assessment district for Lathers Street. Clerk Row residents petitioned for this, and they wanted sidewalks as well. And because of the cost of the sidewalks, it was, brought back to only do the street lights, was my understanding. Is that right, Clerk Rowe?
Yes, can you hear me?
Yes.
Yeah, yeah, and then the numbers that's come out on the street lights, I just want to forewarn everyone that they'll probably be the most expensive district in the township between the installation and the operation is going to be about $250 a year. And so I know the petitioner wants us to move forward, but I'm just going to lay this out there. I know this isn't the time to do it, but to think about whether or not it's that the township would want to help with that purchase of those lights. It's because, it's a small street and it's only, I think, 6 or 7 lights, but that's not a lot of residents to divide the cost between. So that's just something to think about for when we actually have the public hearing and we package the
Is there
resolution.
any information in the packet? I can't find it. Is it?
We did not have, wait, I think, hang on a second. Lisa, did we put that memo from Brian in there? We didn't have it. I think I got it too late for the board packet, but I have a memo from Brian now with the actual, cost of installation and the cost of operations. Which I can send that to everybody so you can at least be thinking about whether or not it's something that I know that we've done that one time. I know from memory, I know one time in the past when they petitioned that the township agreed. We didn't pick up the whole cost, but I think we picked up some of the costs to help offset, the long-term costs, to the residents.
It's 200. Yeah, I would like more information.
I just got it. It's like $149 to put in the 7 lights spread between 17 people. It's $25,000. And then the cost of the actual operations is $102. So when you combine them for 10 years, it's going to be $252. The other thing we can do too is we could stretch it out to a longer payback to make it less. So those are just some things to think about that, the board could entertain a motion at the time of the public hearing before we adopt the resolution on November 20th.
In order to consider, I would like to just see more information. I have no.
I was just sharing that because this is just setting the public hearing.
Well, I know.
I can share that information.
If you set the public hearing, you should have the information. It would be helpful to have a discussion. And you and I had been discussed via email, but because I know they really wanted sidewalks, and it makes sense to do it all at once. And it's in this, is that in the CBDG area, Karen? Would it qualify for?
Yeah, I don't know if it does or not. I mean, I don't know. I didn't check that out. I'm guessing that it would because most of the township is in the CDBG area. But yeah, I mean, they were hoping to get the lights in before, it gets dark, which is now it is. So yeah. And I don't think the lights going in won't have any complications on the sidewalks. And the sidewalks obviously are going to be farther out, trying to put together whether it's grants. I think OHM has recommended if we do maybe find several places in the township where we have these infill projects that we might get a better price to do the sidewalks. So that's kind of been decided to be pushed to next year as you look for grants, or whether you want to do several infill projects that would bring down the costs.
Yeah, because I was trying to, I would at least like, before we set I personally would like to have the information to set a public hearing, so I know what
we don't traditionally have, normally we don't traditionally have the information when we set the public hearing. I just brought that up as an opportunity for people to think about, and I can send that because we didn't have that at the time that we did the packet. Brian hadn't prepared that yet. He'd been busy.
There's no letter, there's nothing. Okay. Do you guys mind if we take a break for 15 minutes and then proceed back to the regular meeting?
Yeah, that's fine with me.
Is that all right with the board members? And so
Yes, that's fine.
I'm good.
All right, thank you. All right, then we're going to adjourn this meeting, and the time is, Karen, for Janice, 6:44.
Yes.
Eldridge.
Yes.
And Stumbo votes yes. The public hearings are completed. Number 5 is a public comment period. If people would like to comment, on the agenda. You can comment on every agenda item as well as make comments now. So we have several hands up. And if it's okay with Joanne, I would like to allow Evan Pratt the opportunity to speak to the board. Evan?
Hello, Board of Trustees for Ypsilanti Township. I'm Evan Pratt. I'm the Water Resource Commissioner for Washtenaw County. It looks like we're straight audio with no video here, but I just am appearing at public comment to thank the Board of Trustees for being a partner in renovation of the Tyler Dam and the drainage works in the area, along with some sewer work of YCUA. I have with me, you can't see it, but in your packet, there was some information about how complicated this three-way project was between the township, my office, and YCUA. And we were provided an award by the Michigan Association of County Drain Commissioners. And the consultant on the project, Spicer Group, was kind enough to provide really nice award plaques for all three agencies. So I'm going to be dropping off the township a nice 18 by 24 frame with glass cover award board, just memorializing our joint effort. So once again, I want to thank the Township Board for our continued partnership. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Evan, very much. Joanne McCullum?
Yes. I want to comment on item on the agenda under new business number 11. I do not believe that the residents of Ypsilanti Township should have to foot this bill. It's something that the residents were cheated out of fair voting. They only had one person on the ballot because Clerk Rowe and Trustee Jarrell Rowe strategically had that done. And I don't think that was right for the residents. And we didn't have a choice really on the ballot for clerk. And now we have to pay $4,625 for that. And I think that's a shame. I hope this does not pass. Thank you.
Thank you. Next is Pi Brown.
Can you hear me okay?
Yes, we can.
Hello, sorry, my name's Betula Brown. Is there a way for me to video share or share my screen by chance or?
No.
No, okay, well, that's
I'm
fine.
sorry.
So my name is Betula Brown. I'm the president of the Fort Lake Village Property Owners Association Board. And in the last meeting, our facilities lead, Sam Ravik, came to the meeting inquiring about repaving of High Ridge. And I wanted to follow up on that and invite and hope that someone on the Ypsi Township Board might consider attending our membership meeting, which is Wednesday, November 11th at 7 p.m., which is also a Zoom meeting, to discuss that further. Because in research we've done, we have found the Washtenaw County Road Commission's reports, and I'm talking specifically about their 2019 and 2020 booklets explicitly proposed High Ridge as one of the potential roads to work on. I live on High Ridge, and so I know the work wasn't done in either of those years. So we just want to be clear on what the process is when a road is shown in the Road Commission's books, how it gets prioritized. So we hope that road can get done potentially next year. And I know we can't address all that now, but I'm hoping someone on this board, who I assume is closer to this than we are, can come to our membership meeting next month and explain that process so that we can be informed. Is this an appropriate place to make such a request?
Sure.
So
Yeah.
who's coming? I guess. Then I guess the next question is who's coming?
Yeah, I'm not sure what board members can attend. I wrote it down and I'll check my calendar after the meeting to see if, if I can attend. If I can, I will.
And I would text, I don't see a text function on here, but if I could text, I would send you my contact information, but I don't see that function available.
Yeah.
Or chat. Is there a chat function somewhere? No.
No.
Well, how's the best way to get in touch? Well, I can find who you are, so.
Yeah.
Or you can go to the Ford Lake Village website and you'll see my name on it. And then you can contact us that way. So what would be your preference?
You can just email, me the information. It's bstumbo@whitetown.org, and then we can send it with the rest of the board. Ms. Brown, did the road commission come out and do any maintenance work for you for that street?
Recently, in fact, less than a month ago, actually right after our September board meeting, one of our fellow board members actually was biking on High Ridge, fell in a pothole, had physical small injuries. We immediately called, and the next day they came and fixed the hole, right, which was great. But it's the oldest road in the subdivision. It was the first road that was built in the subdivision, and it was built in 1999. And I'm not an expert in road maintenance, but the fact that that road showed up 2 years in a row in the road commission's own reports kind of tells me that probably it's due for some maintenance. And I do know that Scott Court, which is also in High Ridge, was repaved about, say 5 years ago. And I can tell you Scott Court gets less traffic than High Ridge. So I'm kind of curious as to what the rationale was and whose decision and how it was made to do that Scott Court versus High Ridge, and whether it's in this group or the road commission or some other entity would like to better understand that process so we can be well positioned to get on the list and get work done next year.
Right. Okay, I'll have to go back and look at those annual reports and see, because I know when we meet with them, that there's a very long list that's on
Oh
there.
yeah, you can go to the website now because I'm on the website. And if you go to the website under
I can't do it during the meeting, but I have the report here in a file, but every year they meet with us and they have a very long list of improvements. So I just have to refresh my memory.
And I understand the last time my colleague came, you can't do everything. So I totally get that, but something has to get done, right? And there must be a means to decide. So we just want to get clarity on what that decision process is so we can be clear on that, especially, as you're looking to do that for next year.
Yeah. We did float a $6 million bond, the township board did, and that will be up in 2022, and that'll be paid off actually. So the Washtenaw County Road Commission has reduced a lot of their services. They used to maintain roads. They don't
Right. And I know from the report I saw, part of they asked the township to do cost sharing, right? So I do get that, because when I read the report, they ask you as the township, well, what are you willing to pay for? So I think if I'm reading the report right, some of that's on you to decide where you spend your money, which is our money. So, in terms of taxes. So I think I've understood the process from what I've read, but any more insight that can be brought again to us and the membership at next month's meeting would be greatly appreciated.
I will check my calendar and try to attend. If not, there's several board members that may be able to as well.
Yeah, I can be there.
Yeah. Okay.
Who was speaking? I'm sorry.
Clerk Rowe.
Yeah, I just want to say, just for information purposes, all the streets in your subdivision have been on the list. And the one that was paved was because I remember we got a CDBG grant for that, which is a community development block grant. And because it fit into the amount of money that we had, we went ahead and moved forward on that specific street. But I know that you're right, they've been on there for a couple of years and we wanted to do them all, but there's only so much money each.
So I appreciate that. And I don't know about the block grant. So I don't know if we can get into that now, but can someone send, I'm sure it's documented somewhere what that block grant was, but I didn't know about it. So if someone could, I don't know if you have it or how I can get it, but I'd like to get more of that information in hand.
Thank you. Okay.
You could send your information on how to get on the Zoom, then Brenda Supervisor Stumbo could share that for those of us who can attend.
Okay, and then I think I heard a gentleman's voice said he could make it, but I couldn't tell who was talking.
That was me, Madam Supervisor.
Okay. Trustee Eldridge.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you so much. I'm glad they came out and did it, but unfortunately it was an incident that caused it.
Well, that's the thing. We shouldn't have to, it should be, it's more expensive for everyone to wait until somebody has an injury, right?
Right. I agree. The next person on the list is Kathy. No.
Hi. Hi, this is Kathy Leach. I'm live on Henley Drive in the township, and I was hoping to speak tonight about the budget review for Fund 226, the environmental services.
Okay.
I noticed in the line item that there's no revenue generated by recyclable materials. Is that correct?
I can go back through the budget, but generally it's been declining. It used to generate revenue and it hasn't been generating anywhere near as much revenue as it used to. That's correct.
Okay. In the minutes of the special meeting from September 30th, there was a discussion and it said it's hard to budget for recycling because there may not be a market for recyclable materials. And if not, then we have to pay extra per ton fees in order to have our recyclables put into the landfill.
That is correct.
Is this new with this new contract, or has that been the same with previous contracts with waste management?
There's like a trend around the United States to recycling. The reuse of materials of recycling is going down. Cardboard is up and very, you can sell that, but the other single stream items that we have in there, there's just, when there's a market for it, Ms. Leach, then we will get paid for that. If there is no market for it, then it goes to the landfill. So it's been that way. When there's no market, we get charged for it. But now it's much clearer in the contract about what happens to it. And it's not only here, it's other communities as well.
In this next year's budget, the line item says that you anticipate $29,000 more in fees for putting recyclable materials to the landfill as opposed to what was budgeted last year for that.
I'm not sure what number, what line item are you looking at?
804-008.
All right, let me see here.
I was wondering if that was an increase in the per ton fee or you're anticipating more tonnage going directly to the landfill.
That recycling disposal, and I got to look at I need to look at the narrative as well. So I can't do it all during the public meeting. May I?
Sure, it was 177,000 on the budget line for 2020, and it's 206,000 anticipated for next year on the line item.
So if it's contaminated as well, so they used to allow pizza boxes, right? And then they stopped pizza boxes because people were putting food in them. And that pizza box will contaminate the whole truckload of recycling because it's single source. And they're saying if it's contaminated, it's hard so it's going to take a lot of education, a lot of information, to get out to the residents to make sure that we have a clean stream of recyclables. We're also working with Washtenaw County on recycling, to see what we can do as a county to better handle the recycling challenges that we have.
Yeah, I've read that nationwide there are challenges in getting recyclable materials sold and reused, and most of them do end up going to the landfill. With the new contract with Waste Management exceeding the amount on our millage, I would want to encourage the board to consider stopping the $2.65 per unit fee for recycling if we can't be assured that any material is actually going to be recycled.
In the work session, we talked about actually putting a committee together in order to discuss that. You sound like a very interested resident, and we can decide as the next board, as well as having residents on the committee to get input. It's a sad state of affairs for recycling right now, and we're hoping it changes.
Yes,
So-
I hope we can reflect that in our upcoming budget.
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. And if you could send me your email, then I can also include you in as a committee member if you're interested in serving.
Thanks.
Thank you. The next person is Aaron. Aaron?
Hi.
Hi.
Hi. I wanted to speak about the rate of speed on Harris Street. My name is Erin Anderson, and my fiance and I have been living on East Grand Boulevard, which is the next street over, for the last 3 years. I'm extremely concerned about the speed of cars traveling on my street. The increase in speed started when Harris Street project, the road project began, and has increased steadily since. As you guys may not be aware, there are no speed limit signs, nor are there any street lights to ensure safety for the motorists or my neighbors and their family members. East Grand Boulevard also has a church and a daycare, which has been subject to these speeding motorists upon patrons' arrival and departure of each establishment. Because there are many families that call this street home, there are kids playing, walking the street, people walking their dogs, biking, jogging, and we even have a basketball player that uses the street as the practice court. And there are no sidewalks for these pedestrians to walk down in hopes to escape danger. I could handle about 30, 40 miles per hour, but these cars are speeding at rates of at least 50 to 80 miles per hour with nothing to stop them except for street signs in the street and whatever might be in the way. I've also been hit while trying to back into my own driveway. I love living in this house, in this neighborhood, and we plan on raising our family here. The speeding and reckless drivers are the only reason why we would move. I wouldn't be surprised if this was one of the most dangerous streets in Ypsi speed-wise. I would really appreciate considering the consideration of streetlights, street limit signs, and most importantly, speed bumps. My fiance and I both work in YCS, love Ypsilanti, vote in every single election, and have chosen to put down our roots here. Please help us keep our street, our friends, and our future family safe. Thank you.
Thank you, Aaron. We're also we can immediately ask for some patrol in that area for your speeders.
Yeah, thank you. I mean, they fly by, and it's just, I cannot imagine if a kid gets loose out of the daycare, or something, a ball rolls in the street, and they have nothing to do but swerve and hit people. And there are signs, the slow downs, kids play here, but that has nothing to do, it doesn't slow them down. And
right.
I know a lot of my neighbors are quite fed up about this as well.
Yeah. And we can petition for speed humps, or they call them, what do you call this?
Calming.
Something, traffic calming devices, but they're speed humps. And there's a
I
petition.
read somewhere that takes 66% of the neighbors to get those. Is that, if I go like door to door and petition, is that correct? Or
75%.
70?
Or 75%.
I could probably get 125%. I mean, I think a lot of people would, yeah, for sure. So yeah, anything that happens, I know there's sometimes there's cop cars that, or when they don't have anything to do in Ypsi, which is almost never, they get people, but that's, I've seen them 5 times in the last 3.5 years. So I know they have a lot bigger and, more important things to do, but I know speed humps would make them think twice, maybe, hopefully. So thank you so much for hearing me.
If you could email me at bstumbo@whitetown.org with your issues, and then we can communicate and get you the packet for the
yes, that'd be great.
And the street lights is the same. On the street lights, you could email me. My office handles those. It's Lovejoy.
Okay.
Or you can just call and we can get you out the petition, the packet for that.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, we only would need, I think I did the math, like 5 to illuminate the streets, the whole boulevard, just enough so they can, people can see, someone who'd be in the way. And some of these motorists don't have, the lights on it at night. You can just, and it's just it can be a really unsafe situation.
Right.
But yeah, so
Thank you, Aaron.
Thank you. I appreciate it, guys. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Are there any other comment? I think that concludes public comments. So we'll go to the consent agenda. We have the minute.
Excuse me, Supervisor Stumbo?
You're on mute.
I've unmuted.
Thank you so much.
I'm sorry. I accidentally muted it again, and then I unmuted it. That's what happens. This is Lisa Putman, and I live very close to Clark and Ford. And I'm also most concerned about some speed and also noise issues. I didn't realize it was so bad on Grand, which is a street I do take frequently, but I'm especially concerned about Harris. And there's been a great deal of talk about this on Nextdoor. Harris in particular is also a huge problem. My understanding is that because it's designated an emergency egress, we can't use the typical speed bump calming type of solution. Is that information accurate?
Because it's a primary road, you can't.
I think it's
You
a
can't.
Kirk Road, isn't it too?
Okay. Then we would like to see something done. Possibly one of those speed lights. This is the speed you're going. Because I know that ever since they paved that road, and I love it paved, I really do. But when I turn onto that road and people are going, as Aaron mentioned, on a much more difficult road, but people are going 60 miles an hour. And what is even more concerning is that along that area, there is a stop sign and people just don't stop. And I will confess to finding it hard to stay down at 35 because it's such a nice road to drive on, but it's really not safe for the residents. And I'm not able to come up with a whole bunch of solutions myself. The only thing I could think of was one that says, you know, slow down, you're going so fast, and this is what the speed limit is. And the other issue is, which also includes Harris, is drag racing, particularly along Clark Road, particularly at night, which nowadays is really early. The noise from the cars is almost overwhelming. And of course, it's a wonderful 45-mile-per-hour road, and they gun it and they take off down, and take off down the road, and it's like having your windows rattle. I can't open my front door, so just to cool out the house in the hot summer evening because the noise is so bad.
I would like to say that the number one complaint from residents is speeding. And so we need to get some patrol. That would be the first line of defense in order to get people and hold people accountable. And they need to stop speeding up down the residential neighborhoods like this. And we will, Mike Radzik is on the phone. He is our police coordinator. And we'll make sure that the list of streets that have been identified be submitted to the Sheriff's Department for traffic enforcement.
Super. And is there some way to throw in, and oh, by the way, the windows are open and music is blasting?
That's another, complaint. And some people don't understand that it's these quality of life issues that affects residents, especially if you have small children or if you're elderly and you work in the morning. There's all kinds of different scenarios for, all our residents, but to have a peaceful neighborhood is something, and a safe neighborhood is something we all want. So we'll definitely let them know about the boom boxes and the speeding.
Okay, thank you. And I've been very active on Nextdoor recently as we've been talking about these issues. And I will personally let them know that I have brought these issues up and what the response has been. How can we get an answer? There are people who've said, we've been complaining about this for 20 years and nothing ever happens.
Well, like I said, we'll ask for direct police patrol on those streets. I do want to warn you that a lot of times the residents in the neighborhood kind of get a ticket sometimes, so just be mindful of that. But the sheriff's department will respond and do proactive traffic enforcement.
So one of our best strategies would be, as soon as we hear drag racing, for instance, call the sheriff's department and let them know it's happening now.
Oh, yes, I was,
Okay.
I apologize. I assumed that people were calling 911 for that, or you can call the non-emergency number or 911. The same people answer the phone. So if you call 911, just say it's a non-emergency, and then there'll be a pattern. Drag racing has actually been going all around the township. I don't know if it's because of COVID or I'm not sure, but
boredom.
If it's a new recreational sport that's in our streets, but once we make them aware of it, please, absolutely, everyone should call with any traffic concerns and requests for enforcement to the non-emergency number or 911 and just say non-emergency.
Okay.
Excellent point. I'm sorry, I should have not assumed that.
Yeah, it's a lot of people that have been on next door complaining about this haven't a clue as to what will work and what won't work and what's doable and what isn't. And I'm fairly new to the neighborhood, but I figure there's got to be something. And on Harris especially, I would like to see some kind of street calming response, not just police patrol, because that one is so ongoing and so constant that.
Okay. All right, we will get this reported.
Okay.
And Lisa, thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you for hearing me out.
Are on the Zoom call, so we'll make sure and don't hesitate to email us and let us know. You don't have to wait to come to a board meeting. We're here, Monday through Friday, so please let us know of your concerns and we'll do it. And I will ask Deputy Bynum, who is our Neighborhood Watch deputy. He's assigned to Neighborhood Watch meetings, and they're all virtual now and they're by Zoom.
Okay. Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Lisa, very much. There's one panelist. Is there Zach Rowland?
Yes, hi, this is Zach Rowland. I'm the union president with your fire department, Local 1830. We just wanted to publicly thank all of you. As you're probably all aware, back in August, we applied for money from the CARES Act. And that money gave all of your firefighters a $1,000 bonus for continuing to work without pause back in March through May. And we just wanted to thank all of you for approving that and for going ahead and getting us that benefit. Thank you to Karen Wallen. I know she did a lot of hard work to get us that. So we just wanted to publicly thank you and tell you that we really appreciate it.
Thank you,
Good night,
Zach.
everyone.
We appreciate you all very much.
Thank you.
Are there any other? Okay. Next, we're going to move forward with the consent agenda. Minutes of the September 30th special meeting and October 6th regular meeting. Statements in check and the treasury report.
Move to approve.
Support.
Motion Doe, support Eldridge. Questions or comments?
Madam Chair, I have a comment. I would not be able to approve, at least for me, the October 6th meeting minutes because I haven't had a chance to review them, but everything else is fine. So I'm not sure if we're approving the consent agenda altogether. How would I signify that?
Okay, are you asking for them to be pulled out of the consent agenda?
Well, I would probably ask for them to be tabled.
Okay. Is there a support for table? For the minutes?
Support.
Is it trustee Eldridge?
Yeah, I've not had a chance to look at them either. I don't think there's going to be anything with it, but I certainly understand the trustee's request.
We have a motions and support just to table the one item on the consent agenda, which is the October 6th regular meeting. We'll do a roll call vote. Clerk Rowe.
Karen, you're muted. Sorry.
Clerk Rowe.
Oh, I'm sorry. You don't have to do tabling. I just roll call, but I support the table.
Gerald Rowe.
No.
Trustee Wilson.
Yes.
Eldridge.
Yes.
Ross Williams.
Yes.
Treasurer Doe.
Yes.
And Stumbo votes yes. So the consent agenda, what is tabled is the minutes of the October 6th meeting. We have the remainder of the consent agenda, which is the minutes of September 30th, statements and checks, and the treasurer's report for September.
There's a motion already for that.
Well, we tabled the minutes.
I move to approve everything but the October 6th minutes.
Support.
We have a motion and support. Clerk Rowe, are you okay with that procedure?
Yeah, it's all right. We had a motion on the floor already, but that's okay. It's the same people, so it doesn't matter.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Aye.
Gerald Rowe, motion carries. General legal update?
No update.
No update? Okay. The next item on the agenda is a request to approve the first amendment to the development agreement for Pineview Golf Estates North Subdivision Phase 2.
So move.
Support Eldridge.
Motion Rose, support Eldridge. Is there discussion on this? Planning Director Jason Ikeangelo is on the Zoom meeting. Do you have any questions? You did an excellent memo in summarizing, Jason. Thank you.
Sure.
We have a
I think,
motion.
sorry, the request is pretty straightforward. The amendment is, the old plan was for Pineview to connect through to Whitaker per the old development agreement, and this just remedies that by allowing Pineview to end in a cul-de-sac where it currently just ends in a dead-end gravel road. So this will be much safer for the people who live on that street, and it will finish that road and complete it in a cul-de-sac with 4 lots instead of 9, which were allowed per the old development agreement. So I think this is sort of a win-win for the neighborhood as well as the gentleman that owns the piece of property or phase 2 of that development. But if you folks have any questions, I'm happy to answer them.
Thank you, Jason. Any questions or comments? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Number 2 is a request to authorize circuit court litigation to abate public nuisances at 885 Lexington Parkway, 1253 Crestwood, 1117 Davis Street, 7941 Lake Crest Drive, and 7607 Harbor Cove Court, which is budget and line item 101-950-000-801-023.
Move to approve.
Support
Motion
Gerald Rowe.
Ross Williams. Was there a support?
That was actually Larry, I think.
Support Doe. Discussion? We discussed this in the work session. Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Number 3 is a request for authorization for circuit court litigation to abate a public nuisance by padlocking for 2545 Coolidge Avenue, which is budget in line item 101-950-000-801-023.
Move to approve.
Motion Ross Williams,
Support.
support Wilson. Is that correct?
Correct.
Okay. Discussion? Mr. Winters, I didn't know if you wanted to, or Mike Radzik, just give a, this is a little bit different, the padlock request for drugs, basically, at this home, and there's quite a large amount of drugs that.
This was a property at 2545 Coolidge Avenue on the eastern edge of Ypsilanti Township, where the Washington County Sheriff's Department Community Action Team conducted a lengthy investigation. It originally started with the seizure of some stolen trailers stored on the property. That led into a narcotics trafficking investigation. Ultimately, they executed a search warrant and recovered in excess of 400 grams of powdered cocaine, multiple pounds of marijuana, more than a dozen firearms, one of which was reported stolen in Ypsilanti Township at a home invasion from someone's home back in February, and about $10,000 in cash. The investigation also led to a second search warrant executed at the prime target's home in Pittsfield Township on Merritt Road. So as we have done about 25 times in the past, over the past couple of years, when there's evidence of active narcotics trafficking, we execute a civil action in circuit court pursuant to state law, asking a judge to padlock the property for up to 1 year so that there is a complete discontinuation of narcotics trafficking. I think you're muted, Madam Supervisor.
I am muted. You are correct. Are there questions or comment? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. The next item is to set a public hearing for November 17th for the 2021 fiscal year budget.
Move to approve.
Support Eldridge.
Motion Doe, support Eldridge. Questions or comments? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. The next item is to request to set a public hearing for November 17th at approximately 7 p.m. to create a special assessment district for Lathers Street streetlights.
So move.
Support Darrell Rowe.
Motion Rowe, support Gerald Rowe. We discussed this in the work session. I'm a little concerned. Clerk Rowe said that the amount of the streetlight is $250 a year, and the board may be asked to pay for the streetlights in this area. I would like to have that information prior to the public hearing so we can look at it. It will affect the 2022 budget or 2021 budget as well. So I don't want to have residents come to a meeting and disappoint them when we're hearing for the first time about the amounts and stuff. This is a different situation. Normally, streetlights are petitioned for, and the costs are paid for and spread over a certain amount of years. But because it's only 7 lights and it's $250 per resident, that seems oddly excessive to me. But I don't know if it's because it's in the old neighborhood and they have to do a different trenching, or I don't know enough about it, but I would hate for the residents to come to the public hearing and.
Yeah, we actually, I'm sorry, Madam Supervisor.
Quick roll.
Yeah, we actually, the originally was 20, it was like 19,000 for 3 lights. So we went back and worked with DT, had a lot to do with the undergrounds and how they were doing that. And plus the residents wanted more lights. So they actually picked out exactly where they wanted lights, at least within one section. And so because they changed, because we,
Could you put your video on, please? Is there?
yeah, I can't.
Okay. Thank you.
Sorry, yeah, because they added more lights and because of the way they were able to run their wiring, they were actually for about $2,000 more able to add 4 more lights. So I know the lights are, you know, and they haven't raised any of the issues with me. I've told the petitioner and stuff, but I just know that overall that's a lot. I mean, there's another way to do it, and we could research that and stuff, and you know, have the information available before the next board meeting as we have time. But I know that because we normally just do the 10 years, we go out 10 years. So the township could just have the residents pay for it and go out 20 years, and it would actually, you know, cut the actual installation costs in half. So there's several different ways to do it if we don't want to help fund it out, you know, at least partially out, even if we've just paid for half of the 21,000 or 22,000 for the lights. They normally cost about $4,000 to $5,000 each. So actually this one is a little bit cheaper. For 7 lights normally would be around 30, 35. So they found a way to do it different, you know, to do it cheaper. I think as we put more lights and they were able to save money on how they were running the the underground wires and stuff. So
Yeah, I would just don't want I mean, I'd like to set it in December. I would like just to have a conversation, have the information quick roll.
the residents have the information. Like Kevin's on it. It's Kevin Fry and the Fry family. A lot of us know them. Like half the property owners are their family.
No, they do, but we don't, clerk roll.
No, I'm just saying, I thought you said you were worried about the residents being surprised.
No, if they are requesting the township board to pay for.
No, they're not requesting it. They have not said anything. I just know that that's high. And I know in the past we have done that. I just laid that out there just to say, you know, we might want to consider doing that, you know, between now and the next board, you know, when the actual public hearing happens. And when we can have the public hearing, and then you can always do that, you know, you don't have to take action to create it at that moment. I do know they want them in, and if we can get it, if it goes through the public hearing and everything, that they actually can be in either February or March up and running. February at the earliest, March at the latest.
Madam Chair?
Yes, Trustee Russ Williams.
Yeah, this is just a question. Is this information that's being discussed right now, is it in the revised agenda? Because
no,
I don't see it.
No, normally for the public hearing.
Okay.
So I don't normally put any information. I just say set the public hearing based on the process to assessing and what the residents are working on. We set that up. And then once we have that, the process is once the public hearing is set, then we do the mailing to all the residents. But yeah, and obviously now I'm regretting bringing it up. I just thought because when I got the numbers from Brian, it was higher than, you know, I don't think there's any district that's high. And I know in the past we have paid for either all or even part of, in some of these older neighborhoods, the installation costs to bring it down for the residents. And I was saying we might want to think about that between now and I can send out the actual memo from, you know, I don't have to wait to the board packet. I could send the information out earlier to everybody. I sent it out to the residents as soon as, 3 days ago when I got it.
No problem. I was just trying to figure it out because I was looking, I didn't see it, and I'm like, where is it? So, all right, that question's been answered.
Well, I would like to set it for December 1st, and so we can get the information and see if we can assist. But I need the information, that's all.
That's not traditionally how we do it.
I know you don't normally do it, but we don't normally pay for installation.
Normally what has happened in the past, when you guys have seen the numbers of the board in this board, these 7 members of us together, you've seen the numbers and you have just at the public hearing saying, oh, you've made the motion that we'll go ahead and pay for part, you know, to pay for part of it. I was just bringing up ahead of time to say, hey, maybe you want to think about it. I would really not, because they've been working at this. It started with one of the aunts and then she got sick. They've been working at this for over a year. And, you know, I've actually been communicating with them, everything that I get from DTE, with the, you know, with the Fry family, because that's where it started. But, and they're, like I said, they owe over half the properties in the actual district. But, you know, because this will move it back another month. That would move it back.
I know, I understand that, Clerk Rowe, but
There'd be time between now and then to get all the information up. And I guess, you know, people wanted to think about how they wanted to fund it or not, then
right.
that you could do that between now and November 20th or 17th.
Or
Like it doesn't stop us from doing that, to push. We don't have to push them back a month in order to get information. So I just urge us not to do that.
Because
because then they'll have to wait another month for
but
the
they might get, it might lessen their amount, you know, that they pay. So the letter you sent out is going to be less. That's what I was trying to do. But without having the information, I can't even speak to it really. I'm so sorry. It is different because and we want to help. And I know they want sidewalks. I know that they want sidewalks. And I was seeing if there was a gap, you know, you asked that we have OHM do a sidewalk.
Right.
Yeah. So we're trying to do it the right way, but
I mean, to delay it, you'd have to have an agreement on what it is you're going to do in order to set the public, you know what I'm saying? We'd have end up somehow between now and then come up with a new number. Like setting the public hearing is setting the date that we're going to hear. But we're going to hear exactly what DTE is presented unless right now, you know, that the board wants to kick in 15,000 and we'll.
I don't have any information. You just have way more information than any other board member. Yeah, that's all.
I'm sorry, guys. My hand's been raised for about 10 minutes.
Okay, I'm sorry.
Is it okay if I speak, Madam Chair?
Just Clerk Rowe, are you done?
Yep.
Okay. Trustee Rowe?
Thank you. So I had two questions, and one was like, if you have any idea of an exact date of when you could have the cost information. And then the second isn't a question, it's just a point of, you know, just discussing again. I don't know how many times this has come up, and I say it every time, just our process of how we, you know, either it's a little group or not, I shouldn't say that. It's either a group of residents that comes together who asks for streetlights, or it comes through a neighborhood watch group. And there's just seems to be all these different channels of how we do this. And every time it comes up, I always say that I think it should just be one way by petition, and that's it.
Is that a question or a statement?
That was a statement. My question is when are we going to have the actual numbers for the cost?
I can send it. I have them right now. I could send it to you. The thing, this is the process. This is how you do it. This is the petition. This was a resident initiated petition that they brought forward, that they've been working on for quite some time. It's well over a year, to get street lights. Well, when they did sidewalk, they wanted sidewalks too.
Yeah.
This is where we're at. I don't have, my only concern about postponing a month is that it's gonna be another month, and we still, if we don't set the public hearing until December, unless this board agrees, which I don't know how we would do that between now and then, because we have to have a vote and you can't do a consensus on the emails. We still wouldn't have the same number going out for the notice to the public hearing for the people. So I understand what you're saying, Supervisor Stumble. It's like, it would be great if we knew we're going to do $10,000 less, but by setting the public hearing for December, that's not going to change unless this board in November says that we're going to give 15,000 and then we'll switch the letter up. If that's what, and I don't know if that's where you
on the November agenda.
have on the November agenda that the board agrees to pay for the installation costs. And then also on that agenda to set that public hearing. So that makes sense to me, if that's what, but I was missing that. Like, well, how's that going to be any different? So I hear what you're saying. We could get together, perhaps you and Larry and I or whatever, and talk about, here's what it is. I'll share that information and you can figure out through the budget, if there's funds. I got it. So I can understand that. That is better than sending people out a notice saying, woo, it's gonna be 250, you have a reduced cost. That's something that's more reasonable. I think the most expensive one that we have is like maybe $140.
Mhm.
So 250 is pretty high. I mean,
Very high.
more than $100, more than anybody pays for lights in Ypsilanti Township.
Yeah. So,
You want to just set the public hearing for December now? Is that what you're thinking?
we could, if the board is in the motion was made by Clerk Rowe and supported by Gerald Rowe, correct?
I would move to change my motion if it's all right with my supporter.
I have it as Gerald Rowe.
Yeah, Madam Chair, do you, Clerk Rowe, do you have a date, or what date are we setting it to? The first meeting in December?
I would change my motion to hold the public hearing on Tuesday, December 1st at 7:00 p.m. And in the meantime, to figure out, working with the 3 full-time officials and looking at the budget to see what we could bring back to the board in November. That's my motion.
Support.
Thank you. And Trustee Gerald Rowe, I agree with you as well on processes and making sure it's consistent. So I hear what you're saying and I agree. So we have a motion support. All in favor?
Aye.
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 No.
Eldridge opposed?
No.
Ross Williams? The motion carries. The next item on the agenda is request to approve budget amendment request for OHM for the Huron Street Pathway Project in the amount of $6,800, which is budgeted in line item 212-970-000-997-250.
I would move it, Clerk Lovejoy Rowe.
Motion Lovejoy Rose, support Doe to approve. Mike Hoffmeister, is there any questions or comments on this? This is actually on the other side of the street to get it to where the bus stop is. So, Michael?
Yeah, we've previously contracted with OHM to help design the first phase of the Huron Street Trail, which gets us from Huron River Drive to Joe Hall. Originally, phase 2 of this project was to complete the connection between the I-94 exit service drive from eastbound traffic to James L. Hart. We have recently discovered that a partnership between some other public agencies, I believe MDOT and perhaps the city of Ypsi, are already going to be completing that project as part of the bridge project. So we thought it would be most efficient and economical to add the eastern side of Huron Street to this first phase that would connect James L. Hart, basically the Eagle Crest entrance, to North Bay Park, which does include a bus stop and the MDOT park and ride. So that we were slated to go to bid on this project this year. COVID happened, and we have now slated a 2021 bid and project. And this is perfect timing because we can get this added onto that project as well.
Questions or comments?
Madam Chair, only one.
Trustee Ross Williams?
Yeah, just wanted to say I'm really excited to see that this project is beginning to move forward. I know this has been an area that has been not very safe to walk past, and especially as we're getting up to James L. Parkway. So this is, I know it's the first step of many steps, and I'm glad that the first step is actually moving.
Thank you. We have a motion in support. All in favor?
Aye.
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 Opposed? Motion carries. Number 7 is request to approve the agreement with Happy Design for design, bidding, and construction services for improvements to the IT network room and Civic Center 14B campus security screening in the amount of $22,000, which is budgeted in line item 101-970-00. That's not the right number. 000971003. Just missing a dash, sorry.
So moved, Eldridge.
Support.
Motion Eldridge, support Gerald Rowe.
That would be Ross Williams.
I'm sorry.
That's okay.
These doggone Zoom is just getting on my nerves. support Ross Williams. Questions or comments? I know there's a contract here. Mr. Winters, have you had the opportunity to review this?
Well, there's a lot of questions in regards to some of that boilerplate language that's going to have to be revised significantly. I do know that I think Mark Nelson may be on the Zoom call. When I was going through my files, there was a $5,000 contract the Township Board approved in 2017 with Hobbs and Black Associates for the design of a court security system for the 14B court. I'm not sure what happened with that court security system. In this contract, it does require the township to sever any additional professional services contracts that we may have. So I'm not sure the Hobbs and Black contract enters into what is going to be is being incorporated or being revisited in the Hoppy contract. But all that aside, there's still a lot more questions in the fine print that are going to have to be addressed, from indemnity to ownership of documents, any number of paragraphs. But I am kind of curious as to what happened with the Hobbs and Black contract and what they did with their security design system.
Did you want me to go ahead and address that?
Yes, please.
So that was for a setup on just our side of the building. After reviewing that plan, and it went out to bid, we received one bid back at the time. And I think it was now going on 2 years ago. We revisited it based on the lack of interest in bidding, and decided that a more global security solution was more appropriate. So this is actually to look at a screening in the front lobby of the Civic Center side for the entire campus, rather than just our side of the building. So it would be an entirely separate project from that. I don't think there's any conflict between the work Hobbs and Black did and this particular project that Mike Hoffmeister has been pursuing.
Well, I was just kind of curious if the $5,000 that we spent on Hobbs and Black is there anything at all useful in that design that can be incorporated by Hoppy? I mean, I know, again, it may not have come to fruition in regards to the bidding documents or actually a contract, but it was at the time. There was a fair amount of letters that went back and forth in regards to that contract. I'm just kind of curious because it talked about the 14B security system. This is part of that in addition to the IT. And because of that one clause that Hoppy has in here that we have to sever any professional contracts with any other vendors, I just had never heard anything about the Hobbs and Black contract.
I think they're separate enough projects that there's probably not much that can be useful to them. I mean, although we have some drawings that I'm sure we own, we could pass on to Hoppy to see if that's at all helpful to them.
Well, I would still say there's a number of provisions that are going to have to be revised, and some of you become accustomed to some of those paragraphs that will be revised, but there's, I'll get a letter out if the board approves it contingent upon attorney review approval, then I'll get with you and Mr. Hoffmeister, anybody else to share those comments with.
Is that, can we add to the motion, amend it to include contingent upon attorney approval?
Yes, for Eldridge.
Was that Gerald Rowe?
Yes, for Eldridge.
Yes, for Ross Williams.
Okay, and Ross Williams, all right. So we have a motion support to approve the agreement contingent upon attorney approval. All in favor?
Aye.
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 Opposed? Motion carries. Next item on the agenda is a request to approve the agreement with Washtenaw Community College for Extension Center offerings. I know that our attorney has reviewed that. It's in proper form.
Move to approve.
Motion.
Clerk Rowe.
Support Clerk Rowe. Questions or comments? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Number 9 is a request to approve the change order with general code for the addition of the Laserfish Enterprise Content Management System, financial management workflow for accounts payable in the amount of $28,650, which is budgeted in line item 101-266-000-977-001.
I would, Clerk Rowe makes a motion to approve.
Thank you, Clerk Rowe.
Support Jill Rowe.
Support Gerald Rowe to approve this. I know that Giovanna Neal is on the web call or Zoom call, as well as Brian from the company. Giovanna, would you like to give a quick overview?
Yes, what we're really requesting is that we do a change order to get the professional service from general code to add Laserfish invoice approval process to streamline with our BS&A AP system and our purchase order system. This would actually integrate things and actually make that approval process more digital, electronic. It'll save the information into the system. You'll be able to pull that up and look at that. Very excited. My whole team is excited to get this on board, especially with the times that we've just had with the pandemic and trying to figure out the logistics of trying to get invoices to our managers to approve. This would actually streamline that, touching the paper once and scanning it in and sending it out to the proper management to approve, and then it would go right back into the AP system so that we could process from there. I don't know all the technical issues to it. I've got Brian here from General Code to answer any questions that anybody might have.
Any questions or comment? When you say change order, Giovanna, do you mean line item transfer within the budget?
No, this is just a change order to the original contract that we've had with General Code. It's just adding on a module. Let's see, I call them modules. I don't know what Brian calls them. I call them a module. So we're going to add on a module that will make this integration and this putting in of the invoice approval run smoothly. It's a software, right, Brian? Is it a software?
Yeah, so we're adding licenses to your already existing Laserfish system, and then yes, also building out the process automation, adding some modules to make that invoice approval process happen.
All right, are there questions or comments? Attorney Winters, did you have the opportunity to review this contract?
I think if I hear what Giovanna and Brian are saying, this is considered to be a change order to the initial contract that was approved in 19.
Mm-hmm.
I can't tell because there's more of a kind of a description of costs, et cetera, but we've had this conversation in the past. I'm not sure if the $3,760 is a ongoing, continuing maintenance for this system separate and apart from the 2019 contract. If it is, I'm not sure how many years off the top of my head the original contract is for, but whatever length of time that this contract is going to be in effect, someone has to at least make sure they budget accordingly, because the $3,760 appears to be a cost or more starting in the second year of the contract, if I'm reading it correctly. The proposal does have in there the $3,760 for the beginning, but it seems like it continues on as well, if I'm understanding it correctly.
That
Yes,
is correct.
Go ahead, Brian.
I was just going to say, yes, that is correct. And that annual amount is in addition to the 19 contract, but they will come as one new single invoice. It'll be batched together now as an annual invoice. And the contract did not specify years. So starting year 2, this additional $3,760 is every year. It comes as an invoice, but you're not tied to a set amount of years.
I'm sorry, Mr. Running.
No, just the only question is that as the board is going to change in the next month or so, new members are coming on, new positions being taken. I just thought it'd be helpful to get at some point in time, arms around all these different annual maintenance fees that are going to be part, because nobody knows where this is going to go. I think Giovanna made a very strong point as to the necessity as to why this would be needed. I just want to make sure that at some point in time, everybody's on the same wavelength in regards to annual maintenance reoccurring costs. Here, and you're right, I couldn't remember there was a duration in the first contract, but it was on a year-to-year basis. At some point in time, the counting as well as the budgetary process has to at least list all these different annual reoccurring fees and the cost, because we have quite a few out there, not just yours. We have quite a few out there that are coming, and this system probably will help keep track of it. I think maybe it'll keep track of which ones are coming in on a regular basis. So it might be one that you'll be able to use this for your own needs, as well as the ones that are coming on a regular basis.
Yeah. Attorney Winters, I have actually asked all the department heads to send me that information. So I am actually preparing a document that will have all of those on there as you requested several times in the last year. It is very much needed that we need to know when those renewals are for all the contracts we have, not just general codes, but with all of them. So we're working on that.
So then we'll have to have the 2020 budget reflect this increase. And Brian, the part I'm not quite clear on, it says the second year forward is estimated to be.
Yeah, and the reason we write estimated is exactly like this change order changed your original annual maintenance. If we add more, yeah, that's the only reason that says estimated.
So, but underneath it, you have a little asterisk that says subject to change based upon then current support prices for that year.
Oh, yes. So we as a reseller have to obviously honor the pricing of Laserfish. It's pretty rare that their prices have changed. They just did another price change about 50 days ago, which had no impact on you guys. It wasn't so much a price change, it was creating a new licensing model, but that's for others, not, you already have yours, so yours is in place.
All right, any questions? I think this is great. I know that they've been trying to do this for a very long time, and the accounting department was essential for the payment process and purchase orders, and it's going to make it a lot more efficient, as it also talks to BSNA, which is the next agenda item, but that's going to help tremendously with the process. So Giovanna, thank you for bringing it forward. Is there other comments from board members or? All right, hearing none, we have a motion and support. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. We'll make sure that it's in the budget for next year, this new cost. Number 10 is a request approval agreement with BSNA software for software integration to connect BSNA with the Laserfish document management system.
So move.
Motion Rowe?
Support.
Support Ross Williams. Discussion?
I had a question.
Yes, Clerk Rowe.
You were referring to the other agenda item as change the budget, but that's actually in this year's budget, right, Giovanna?
She's talking about the second year, 3,760.
Oh, I'm so sorry.
That's for the second year. Yes.
Yeah. All right.
It is
Sorry.
budgeted.
Gotcha.
This is budget for this year.
Gotcha. Thank you.
Yes. And this one is a request to do the bridge to integrate the Laserfish with both the PO system and the AP system. So they'll talk to each other and update. Is that correct, Brian? Is that how that works on the?
Yes, we have a bunch of tools that we can use with BSNA. This particular budget item is a purchase to BSNA that creates a very seamless integration, how you save documents from one system to the other.
I did have a question.
Clerk Rowe?
I know we talked about it when we started with Laserfish in the clerk's office and accounting was next, but
And I know BSNA was like a really big issue in terms of the building department and so will this same system allow the building department, or will that to be another piece of software or bridge later on to integrate building department and zoning and all that with all those files that we have?
Yeah, this, again, this is with BSNA. However, I do know that this integration with BSNA, once you purchase it and own it, it covers every module of BSNA that you have. So yes, building documents, HR, I mean, whatever modules you have through BSNA, we would be able to integrate right into Laserfish.
I think what's so exciting about this is that BSNA is really not for the
doing that.
For all the security, for the, the rules under the retention schedules. It really doesn't have the same features as Laserfish. So it's always been a big worry of everybody's like, so if we can do this and get all those files from BSNA actually in Laserfish, then you will have met all the standards for the state of Michigan in terms of security, because Laserfish, unlike BSNA, is recognized to not be can't be manipulated in the same format that BSNA can be. So that I think is exciting, and the chance for all those files that we spent quite a bit of money on in the building department too, for graphic sciences, those will be ready because they'll be all in digital format to move a lot of those files into BSNA once it's up and running and the building department's ready to go. So anyways, good luck, Giovanna.
Thank you.
Next step.
So where are we at with the first phase, which was the clerk's department? I know
it's a steady process. This wasn't, the best year in the world, but I don't know, we actually have probably half the stuff. We haven't taken anything to the fire station in a long time, which used to be boxes and boxes and boxes every year would go over there because we've been able to put them in digital format, and then we get rid of the hard copies and stuff. So, and we gradually, here's the process is this way, is that when a new item comes in, whether it's a communication from Attorney Winters or from whoever about, let's say like Pineview right now. So when the staff gets ready to file those new documents that are, in email right now, they will create the new file in Laserfish called Pineview. And what we'll do is do different subcategories, and we'll dump everything in the hard file that's for Pineview in, because that's kind of how I've set it. We can't, go back through thousands and thousands of files, which we'll eventually have to get to those. But right now, when something comes up that we already know is in the system, the hard filing copy, with huge, there's probably I bet there's a half a drawer on Pineview right now. And so what will happen is that we'll pull all that out, we'll put the new stuff in there, and then we'll put the old stuff in there. And when that's done, then we're able to, get rid of those documents, and everything's in Laserfish. So I don't know what percentage of where we're at. I know everything that comes in now goes into Laserfish. So that's the good news. There's no more 1 million copies being made and then some a year. So that's everything new's coming in. And like I said, as we hit hit a subject that's, an old that we know is an old system or old file, then we just bring, like if we do, a liquor ordinance or a liquor thing for, a certain company, and we'll just bring everything from that company into the file at that time. That's kind of how we've decided to do it. Since you're creating a new file, you might as well bring everything in at the same time.
Okay. All right. Thank you. So we have a motion and support. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Number 11 is request for reimbursement for professional services rendered by attorney Mary Ellen Gurwitz. Did I say that correct?
Yes, you did.
Okay. In May of 2020, in defense of legal action, a lawsuit by Brenda Stumble and Larry Doe against Karen Lovejoy Rowe, Washington County Circuit Court, case number 2000443Z, in her official legal capacity at Ypsilanti Township Clerk, in the amount of $4,625, and approve a budget amendment for that amount.
So move. Joe Rowe.
Motion Gerald Rowe,
Support.
support Clerk Rowe.
And then if I could address the board, Madam Supervisor.
Sure.
Yeah, I was kind of shocked, and I think a lot of folks who were involved in the whole process were shocked to find out that employees and elected officials, that unless there's a monetary amount being involved, that's involved in, like if someone was to sue saying, I lost, $500,000, or $100,000, $50,000, that none of us are covered. I've been in elected office in the township, the exception of 4 years, since, almost 30 years. And so I always thought when they said you're bonded, because we also have insurance and we're bonded, I always thought that meant that you were covered. And I guess I probably should have explored it more, because I think that you can get insurance that would do that. And I guess basically, regardless of where this ends up at, today's motion, I would really highly recommend that those of you in the future that you seek out an insurance policy that or bonding that actually cover all your employees and your elected officials. In fact, if they are sued for anything other than monetary. The township gets sued a lot for things that don't involve, monetary judgments, and we cover those. But, so anyway, so that's why I brought it to the board. I think if it was monetary involved, the insurance or the bonding would have covered it, but it didn't. And I was sued in my official capacity. And I just think not even just regardless of what, there's been a lot of things about that case that I don't want to beleaguer that right now. But I think that from a professional kind of representing your board and representing the employees. I mean, one of the things that's been talked about around my office, because folks are aware of it, and some of the people who were, mentioned in some of the lawsuits, is like, no one wants to be a notary anymore because they know, we always saw they're bonded, but then you look at all the things that if someone sued them and said, you messed up a document and I lost, they didn't sue, they just wanted it corrected or asked for you to be, fired or reprimanded or something, then the person would be on their own to hire their own representation. So anyways, I think that's why I brought it forward, is something I think whenever the township's been sued, either as a board or as individuals, I think when it hasn't been for monetary amounts, can't think of a time when the township hasn't paid for those. And so that's why I was asking for reimbursement. Thank you.
Thank you. Comments or questions? Hearing none, we have a motion by Gerald Rowe, support by Clerk Rowe, which I'm not sure if the abstention should have been in here because it's a financial gain, but all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
Nay.
No.
Nay.
No.
Nay. Motion fails. Number 12 is budget amendment number 13.
I have a budget amendment. There's a motion to increase the general fund by $22,000. That's for the IT construction for the court, not construction, the design that was on the agenda earlier tonight, to $10,390,807 and approve the line item changes as outlined. To increase the fire fund budget by $2,543, that's for PTO payouts, to $6,581,125 and approve the line item changes as outlined. And to increase the BSR2 fund budget by $6,800 to $2,415,717. And that was for OHM for the Huron pathway, and approve the line item changes as outlined. I would so move the budget amendment number 13 for 2020.
Motion Lovejoy Rowe,
Support Joe Rowe.
support, thank you. Support Joe Rowe. The motion support discussion. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Budget amendment is approved. Are there any board member updates?
Motion to adjourn.
Motion by Rowe,
Support Joe Rowe.
to adjourn at 8:36. All in favor?
Aye.
All right.
Opposed? Motion carries. Thank
Bye-bye.
you.